Family cultivation. My mobile phone traveled through time. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 226. Zushin Armor, magical weapon to survive the tribulation. The golden box was taken out. It was golden and made of Daoji gold. The estimated weight was about 52.823 kilograms. The pure Yang Dao fire was activated and the Daoji gold began to burn. The solid immortal gold was not only deformed, but also softened and melted into a very small particle, which was melted into the Bushanding and the Shinetunding. Many Yuanian cultivators used 4th grade spiritual treasures, and the Shenhua cultivators used 5th grade spiritual treasures. The magic weapons they used were often one level lower than their own, largely because of the lack of materials. With the influx of a large amount of immortal gold, the biggest problem restricting the upgrade of magic weapons has been solved. 10 kilograms of immortal gold were melted into the Bushanding. 10 kilograms of immortal gold were melted into the Shinetunding. Originally, these two large tripods were grey and looked like stone tripods, and they were not amazing. However, at this moment, they became golden and handsome. As a last resort, other materials were added to dilute the proportions of the large tripods. 20 years later, the two tripods were refined. The weight of the big cauldron was increasing. The Bushanding became 1,500 jin, and the Shinetunding became 2,000 jin. The big cauldron became grey and unremarkable. Bang bang. Xuanji punched out, but there was no mark left. Instead, his arm was hurt by the vibration. He began to perfect the runes and the prohibitions. It took 10 years for the Bushanding and Shinetunding to be upgraded to the 4th grade. The two big cauldrons became extremely solid. On ordinary 4th grade spiritual treasures, those magic weapons would almost break at the touch. But at this moment, the catastrophe in the sky surged and was about to fall. When the magic weapon is upgraded to the 4th grade, there will be a heavenly tribulation. Xuanji immediately activated the formation to cover up the breath. The breath of the heavenly tribulation dissipated, but as long as the formation was opened, the heavenly tribulation would fall. After experiencing the baptism of the heavenly tribulation, the magic weapon will completely enter the 4th grade. But now, the time is not right. He took out the Lihuo sword again and began to refine the magic weapon again, injecting a little bit of immortal gold into it. He only melted 1 pound of immortal gold, added runes, and evolved it into a restriction. It took 10 years to upgrade it to the 4th grade. Among all the magic weapons, the Lihuo sword consumed the least materials, had the least runes, and was the easiest to upgrade. It was also sealed with a formation. Next, I will refine the Zushin armor. Xuanji thought, took out many materials and 20 pounds of immortal gold, and began to melt a set of armor. Time passed, and Xuanji began a long career of refining weapons. However, the difficulty of refining the Zushin armor far exceeded his imagination, and the time it took was unexpectedly long. After 30 years, a set of armor was finally forged. The armor was dark gold, composed of thousands of dark gold armor pieces. These armor pieces were like fish scales, and they fit perfectly when worn on the body. The grade reached the 4th grade. Click, click. Wearing the Zushin armor, Xuanji immediately felt a sense of security. In the void, the calamity was spreading and was about to befall. He activated the formation again to seal the aura of the Zushin armor. Opening the token and communicating the aura, Xuanji began to transmit the voice. Ancestor Jin has awakened. Awake, not only awake, but also entered the 9th transformation of the golden elixir. I have also entered the 9th transformation of the golden elixir. Congratulations to you. No more words of gratitude. What's the matter? The magic weapon is going to survive the calamity. Come and help. Okay, wait a moment. The voice on the token disappeared. In less than a moment, Ancestor Jin arrived. The Lu family immediately made way for the formation and respectfully welcomed him in. Arriving at the cave, Ancestor Jin saw a sword, a 4-legged tripod, or 3-legged tripod, and a piece of armor. There was a dazzling aura on it, and there were runes flowing in it, like the stars. A terrifying aura leaked out, and it was about to trigger the heavenly tribulation. But formations appeared around, blocking the aura. The aura could not leak out, and the magic weapon could not pass the tribulation. There was still one heavenly tribulation away from the 4th grade. The magic weapon needs to pass the tribulation. Please help the ancestor and intercept the irrelevant people, Lu Xuanji said respectfully. The 4th grade magic weapon is extremely precious, and even the giant ancestor does not have many. If there is no strong person to protect the way, the magic weapon may just pass the tribulation successfully and be robbed by the giant ancestor. Okay. Ancestor Jin nodded. Thank you. Lu Xuanji nodded and disappeared with the 4 magic weapons. Arrived in the wilderness, in an uninhabited corner. Lu Xuanji released the sealed formation, and immediately the dark clouds in the sky gathered, the calamity gathered, and the heavenly calamity descended. This is the calamity of the magic weapon. Swish. Using the escape technique, Lu Xuanji was already 10 miles away. The dark clouds in the sky gathered, the calamity gathered, and turned into thunder and lightning that bombarded the magic weapon. People are calamities of people, and treasures are calamities of treasures. There is no calamity in the first 3 levels of the magic weapon, but when it hits the 4th level, the heavenly calamity will descend. If the magic weapon withstands the test, it can be transformed into a 4th level spiritual treasure. If it fails to pass the calamity, the magic weapon will be broken and shattered. This is the calamity of the magic weapon, and it is best for the cultivator not to interfere. If the cultivator intervenes, there will be only 2 results. One is that the heavenly calamity increases, resulting in the destruction of the magic weapon. The other is that the magic weapon does not have enough calamity, resulting in insufficient spirituality of the magic weapon. Spiritual treasure. The key to spiritual treasure is spirituality. Without spiritual magic weapons, they are just dead objects, which do not increase the power of cultivators much, but with spiritual magic weapons, they can perfectly match themselves and exert 100% of their power. Crack. Crack. The breath of the heavenly tribulation surged, and there were more and more dark clouds. The tribulation was increasing, and the tribulation was fierce. It was comparable to the power of the 7th level, when the cultivators were going through the golden elixir tribulation. The breath of the tribulation was surging, and some nearby golden elixir sensed it, and were about to get closer. At this time, the breath of the golden ancestor was leaking out, and he shouted, "Why don't you retreat?" The cultivators who were secretly watching, and ready to move, fled one after another. The reputation of the golden ancestor was witnessed in the killing. There were more than 20 golden elixir cultivators who died in her hands. Many people were very afraid of the golden elixir cultivators, and called them evil stars. Boom boom boom. The heavenly tribulation continued, and became more and more fierce. After experiencing the catastrophe, the 4 great magic weapons became more and more brilliant. The runes scattered inside began to become orderly and natural, with fewer traces of human intervention and more natural power. The magic weapon survived the catastrophe, which was a catastrophe, and would cause the magic weapon to be damaged. But it was also a good fortune, which could temper the magic weapon, and modify the runes, making the magic weapon closer to nature, and adapt to the changes of all things. Don't worry, it's not difficult for the magic weapon to survive the catastrophe, said Jin Leozu. You have integrated the immortal gold into the magic weapon. Yes, said Lu Xuanji. Immortal gold is hard to come by, but you are lucky. But your lifespan is not long. Jin Leozu said, I estimate that you were already 180 years old when you entered the Purple Mansion. It took you 60 years to activate the crazy demon talisman, and it took another 60 years to refine these magic weapons and upgrade their grades. In addition to the time consumed in these years, your remaining lifespan is only 150 years. But you are only at the 4th level of the Purple Mansion, and your lifespan is not enough to impact the Golden Core. Chapter 227, 4th rank spiritual treasure. Hearing this, Lu Xuanji also laughed and said, Ancestor, your lifespan is not enough. Practicing Liang Yihu and Mishen cut off half of your mission. In recent years, you have been constantly calculating with the Plum Blossom divination, which has reduced some of your lifespan. If my guess is correct, the remaining lifespan of the ancestor may be less than 50 years. The ancestor's lifespan is not long, and the impact is not big. You can attack the nascent soul at any time and increase your lifespan after entering a great realm. But after entering the 9 transformations of the golden pill becomes more solid and difficult to break. The probability of breaking the pill and becoming a nascent soul is also decreasing. The ancestor is in danger. Ancestor Jin laughed and said, "This is my life calamity. If I want to achieve the 9 transformations of the golden pill and condense the supreme Dao fruit, how can there be no calamity?" As if thinking of something, Ancestor Jin took out a pill bottle and handed it over. Xuanji took the bottle and opened the stopper. There was a pill inside that exuded the fragrance of the pill. What is this? A 4th grade life extending pill, which can extend the life of a purple mansion cultivator by 100 years. Ancestor Jin said, "Take this pill, and it will make up for your lack of lifespan." "Thank you, but no thanks." Xuanji smiled and said, 150 years is enough to prove the golden elixir. You don't understand. Ancestor Jin said, "I know you have great luck, and even the grade of your spiritual roots is improving, comparable to the heavenly spiritual roots, but that kind of luck will slow down your cultivation speed. Success is also due to luck, and failure is also due to luck. Moreover, you have too many life-saving magic treasures, as many as 4, which will also slow down your cultivation speed." Ancestor Jin used magic to freeze Xuanji, opened his mouth, and completely ignored his stubbornness, and stuffed it in. Then he used his magic power to help him digest the medicine, and didn't care about Xuanji's rebellious eyes. If the cow doesn't drink water, then force it down. Ahem. When the confinement was lifted, Xuanji wanted to resist something, but it was useless. As the power of the medicine was digested, his lifespan was slowly increasing, and it increased by more than 100 years. Boom boom boom. At this moment, the heavenly tribulation ended. Swish. At this moment, the Lihuo sword, Bushanding, Tunshanding, Zushanjaya, etc. automatically flew around his body and touched him intimately, like a child looking at his parents. Lingbao, a magic weapon that gave birth to spirituality, is called a spiritual treasure. Magical weapons, before the 3rd grade, are just called spiritual tools. But when they reach the 4th grade, after experiencing the heavenly tribulation, they can breed spirituality and become spiritual treasures. When the spirituality is bred to a certain extent, it can be transformed into a tool spirit. There is a huge difference between magic weapons with tool spirits and magic weapons without tool spirits. When activating a magic weapon, if there is a tool spirit, not only can a large amount of mana be saved, the tool spirit can also adjust the restrictions in the magic weapon, so that the magic weapon and the cultivator fit perfectly, ensuring that 100% of the combat power is burst out. But when activating magic weapons, if there is no weapon spirit, the cultivator will not only lose a lot of mana, but also have a poor fit with the magic weapon. It is good enough to burst out 80% of the combat power. These magic weapons are only of the 4th grade, and the spirituality born is very little. Not enough to become weapon spirits, but only a hazy consciousness and a hazy good impression. With the Lihuo sword, Bushanding, etc., after entering the Danshan, they began to absorb the true essence, blood and other nourishment to the magic weapons. In just a moment, Xuanji felt a little dizzy, his blood loss was huge, and his face was pale. The true essence in his body was also absorbed by more than half and became exhausted. Shaking his body, just when he was unstable, Jin Liaozu stepped forward and supported him. Intimate contact, a faint fragrance came, and you can see the faint eyelashes on her face. "Do you know you are wrong?" Jin Liaozu smiled. "I know I was wrong." Xuanji nodded and said, "These 4 spiritual treasures will affect my cultivation speed, especially the Zushanama, which absorbs more true essence and blood essence than the previous 3 combined. Remember, in the future, don't do things without thinking about the head." Jin Liaozu smiled and said, "I was 150 years old and achieved the golden elixir. On the one hand, I have some spiritual stones and treasures from my family, and I'm not short of resources. On the other hand, I was in the key training stage, which is the awakening of the immortal sword body. At the beginning, the cultivation speed was fast. Finally, before the golden elixir, I did not forge any natal magic weapon, and I forged the natal magic weapon after the golden elixir." "Thank you." Lu Xuanji said, but I know I was wrong, but I didn't change it. With the Zushan armor, my life safety is guaranteed, and the golden elixir cultivator can't kill me, and I can retreat unscathed. The time and difficulty of refining the Zushan armor almost exceeded his imagination. The absorption of his true essence, as well as the absorption of blood essence, etc., greatly slowed down his cultivation speed, which was also unexpected. However, the gains were also huge. Zushan armor, made of Daoji immortal gold as the main material, is made by fusing many materials. It is extremely strong, and has amazing defense power. It can dissolve most spell damage. If the second state of the armor is activated, it can increase his combat power, and have the combat power of a golden elixir for a short time. Wearing such an armor, even a golden elixir cannot kill him, and he can escape unscathed. Compared with the safety brought by Zushan armor, other losses are nothing. Ancestor, are you willing to help me test the armor? Lu Xuanji said. Okay, I want to play with it too. Ancestor Jin smiled. But the next moment, Lu Xuanji activated the Zushan armor, and suddenly fish scale-like armor leaves appeared on his body. Combat boots appeared under his feet, a helmet was put on his head, and a mask was put on his face. It was wrapped tightly and leak-proof. Ancestor Jin was speechless. How afraid of death was he to refine such an armor? Kill. Ancestor Jin slapped his palm down, and the force of destruction hit him. Lu Xuanji hit the ground was shaking, and a big pit appeared. Fight again. Lu Xuanji shouted, urging the Zushan armor, and the aura on his body was rising. The strength was not inferior to the golden elixir, and he waved his hand to attack. The old Ancestor Jin smiled and waved his hand to hit. Boom, boom, boom. The two sides clashed with each other, fighting continuously, and fighting bloody continuously. After fighting for 100 breaths, the aura on Lu Xuanji's body weakened and returned to its original state. Patriarch Jin commented, not bad, not bad. Your armor has good defense, and can withstand the magic attacks of Jiandan monks. It can also increase your own combat effectiveness to the level of Jiandan monks, and you can save your life in front of Jiandan monks. However, you can't be careless. The strength of a Jiandan monk depends on many factors, such as the amount of mana, the intensity of the mana, combat skills, the type of magic weapon, the compatibility of the magic weapon, the explosive power, the speed, the prediction of the future, etc. It is not as simple as having a high realm to win, or having more magic weapons to win. There are too many factors that determine victory or defeat. The so-called strength needs to be determined after fighting, but once the fight starts, it will determine not only victory and defeat, but also life and death. Chapter 228 Krypton can change fate, Xuan can save fate. In addition, combat emphasizes mutual promotion and mutual restraint. If the enemy is familiar with your combat style, magical skills, and the characteristics of your magic weapons, etc., and happens to target and restrain you, you may be killed by a cultivator who is several realms lower than you. In this regard, the spiritual roots of heaven are at a disadvantage. The spiritual roots of heaven are only a single attribute. They are easy to be targeted by spells and easy to be restrained by magic weapons. The advantage of the spiritual roots of heaven lies not in combat, but in the fast upgrade speed. As long as the speed is fast enough, you can avoid the deficiencies in spells. If you are afraid of being targeted, you can equip yourself with more magic weapons. Therefore, when cultivators fight, even if they are facing cultivators who are not as good as themselves, or they were defeated by them before, they cannot be careless. Many geniuses have walked through the big rivers, but they capsized in the small ditches. Ancestor Jin talked about some combat experiences, combat skills, etc. If the enemy is impatient, then play it safe and steadily, to wear down the enemy's patience. If the enemy is steady, then start with a wave of attacks. If the enemy is smart, good at hiding, and likes to strike back, then start with a trump card and let the enemy's trump card rot in your hand. Different policies should be formulated for enemies with different personalities. Thank you for your advice, Ancestor. Lu Xuanji said gratefully. This is a small matter. Ancestor Jin smiled. At this moment, the void flashed, and a handful of invitations fell into her hands. Opening the invitation, Ancestor Jin frowned slightly, handed it to Lu Xuanji. Lu Xuanji took the invitation and frowned slightly. Chaos City, holding an auction, inviting fellow Taoists to attend. It was just a simple dozen words, without any specific content, and it was confusing. Lu Xuanji asked curiously, Senior, what does this mean? Ancestor Jin smiled. What do you think the essence of this world is? After a moment of silence, Lu Xuanji answered, and the answer was the standard answer. Black and white are mixed together. It is difficult to find pure black, and it is also difficult to find pure white. There are more gray areas. Chaos City is the largest gray area. It is located at the junction of the three countries of Chu, Yu and Wu. There are all kinds of black goods and goods of unknown origin. They can be traded there. There are not only righteous cultivators, demon cultivators, but also monster cultivators, as well as East China Sea monster cultivators and East China Sea cultivators. They can all trade there. Ancestor Jin said, it is said that the Lord of Chaos City, whose identity is unknown, race is known, and origin is unknown, is a god-transforming cultivator, a top boss. Because of his presence, it has become one of the important trade exchange places in the East Wilderness. Lu Xuanji listened and asked, is it dangerous there? It's dangerous, very dangerous, but it's precisely because of the danger that there are great opportunities. Ancestor Jin smiled and said, I want to prove the nascent soul, which is extremely difficult. I need the nascent soul pill, the 5th grade 5-element fruit, the 5th grade creation fruit, and many top-level spiritual objects combined together to make it possible. If it were in Chu, I might not be able to collect these things in my lifetime, but in Chaos City, there is a glimmer of hope. I want to go. Are you going? It's too dangerous there. I'd better not go. Lu Xuanji said. You know it's very dangerous there with your eyes closed. For the sake of your life, stay away from danger. Patriarch Jin said calmly, you have great aptitude. If you hadn't been dragged down by your family, you would have achieved golden elixir long ago. If you had become my disciple. You don't care about yourself, but you have to care about others. The eldest elder of the Lu family has poor aptitude. Now he is only at the 6th level of the Purple Mansion, and he only has 120 years left to live. Without the life extending pill, it will be difficult for him to reach the golden elixir level. Without forming the golden elixir, it will be difficult for him to achieve the golden elixir. And Yuan, she has 2 spiritual roots, and the conflict between water and fire results in poor aptitude. It took her a long time to forge a top grade Purple Mansion, and she almost failed. Later, she met you, and because of chance and destiny, she turned into a nice spiritual root. Her aptitude was greatly improved, but it was still difficult to condense the golden elixir. Don't you think about them? There are some things in Chaos City that can help them a little. Ancestor, I understand. I'll go now. Lu Xuanji nodded. Jin Liaozu said, you are a person with good aptitude and even better luck, but you just like stability. There is nothing wrong with pursuing stability, but there is nothing in the world that is sure to win. Many cultivators have the courage to fight for the 3rd level of opportunity to impact the great realm. But you must have at least the 5th level, or even the 7th level, before you fight. This is safe, but you will also miss many opportunities. This time you will come with me to Chaos City and broaden your horizons. After saying this, Jin Liaozu left. His figure flashed and returned to Xiang Mountain. Feeling these spiritual treasures, Lu Xuanji felt inexplicably happy. The Lihuo sword exuded a scorching color. After the 4th grade, its power became even more amazing. At this moment, with the help of the sharpness of the sword, even the late Purple Mansion can fight. Swallowing Heaven Cauldron, after entering the 4th grade, the ability to refine pills is improving. He took out the box, which contained 4 portions of pure yang grass, all harvested in recent years, and took out other auxiliary medicinal materials, placed them there, and began to stimulate the earth fire, and refine the pills. The underground fire was burning, the medicinal materials were melting, and the runes were condensing. The whole refining process was smooth. With the improvement of the grade of the Heaven Swallowing Cauldron, the consumption of alchemy was also huge at this moment. In just half a day, the true key was consumed by as much as 7 layers. He had to take the spiritual liquid to make up for the loss, and continue to refine the elixir. 3 days later, the elixir was out of the furnace. When the elixir furnace was opened, about 12 elixirs flew out. On the basis of the original, 3 more elixirs were added. After the advancement of the heaven-swallowing cauldron, the medicinal materials are refined more pure, the loss is less, and 9 elixirs have become 12. Xuanji was happy. After a short rest, he urged the heaven-swallowing cauldron again, and started the second elixir refining. One day later, the big cauldron went out. Xuanji opened the big cauldron, and a pure yang pill flew out. It exuded a burst of fragrance. After a careful smell, it was a little unbelievable. Feeling that it might be wrong, he began to scan it with his mobile phone. This is a top grade elixir, and the elixir poison is less than 1/1,000,000th. Xuanji was excited, and couldn't help himself. Really refine a top grade elixir. His alchemy skills are limited, only a little higher than the Great Elder, but he can never refine a top grade elixir. But with the Bushanding, purifying the elixir poison, he turned the impossible into possible and forcibly refined a top grade elixir. Krypton can change fate, and the mysterious can save the non-existent. As long as there are enough spirit stones, enough elixirs, and enough money, even 5 spiritual roots can have the opportunity to prove the golden elixir. Of course, if 5 spiritual roots want to build a foundation, or even a purple mansion or a golden elixir, the resources they spend are extremely terrifying, almost several times or even dozens of times that of the same generation of cultivators. Don't be afraid of losers. As long as there is enough money and enough elixirs, everything can be changed. Top grade elixirs are the key to changing your destiny. Chapter 229. Where is the law enforcement elder? According to statistics, without taking elixirs or elixirs, cultivators with 2 or different spiritual roots can improve 1 level every 30 years on average, and cultivators with heavenly spiritual roots can improve 1 level every 20 years on average. The host has 3 top spiritual roots. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 230, Ice Soul Sword. In the hall, Xuanji spoke, and began to give rewards. There are ways to use both kindness and severity. For example, giving rewards first, and then severe punishment will cause resentment, but if severe punishment is given first, and then rewards are given, it will cause joy. Different steps before and after will lead to very different results. In recent years, the family's finances have been abundant, especially the income from the medicine garden has been increasing. The number of foundation building pills, purple mansion pills, pure yang pills, and nirvana pills has been increasing, but it has also maintained an average of refining pills once every 30 years. After each pill is produced, you can directly apply to buy it, or borrow it, or do other things. At this time, cultivators at the 9th level of key refining came forward one after another, and began to apply for foundation building pills. Xuanji began to ask and review the foundation building pills. Due to the decline of family talents, the approval quota for foundation building pills has been relaxed. From the age of 60 to 70, those who enter the 9th level of key refining before the age of 70 can all borrow money to buy foundation building pills. The restriction has been relaxed from 3 spiritual roots to 4 spiritual roots. As long as the guest officials of other families agree to marry the female cultivators of the Lu family, or marry the male cultivators of the Lu family, they can also obtain the qualification of foundation building pills. As long as they have not practiced magic, they can also obtain the qualification of foundation building pills. Even so, only 9 cultivators came forward and took out loans to buy foundation building pills. They just asked a few general questions and approved them. Who else? Xuanji asked. Clan leader, I plan to buy foundation building pills. At this time, a cultivator came forward and said, with an ordinary appearance, but with unyielding eyes, Lupingan, why don't you retreat? The law enforcement elder said, you have 5 spiritual roots, and you are 70 years old today. It is difficult to build a foundation, even if you take the foundation building pill. It is better to leave hope to the next generation. Lupingan said, I know that it is very difficult to build a foundation with 5 spiritual roots, almost impossible, but I still don't want to give up. If I don't fight hard once, I will not give up even if I die. The law enforcement elder was about to say something, but when he saw the clan leader raised his hand, he immediately fell silent. Lu Xuanji said, "Do you want to buy the foundation building pill?" Lu Pinggan said firmly, "Yes." Lu Xuanji frowned, tapped the handle of the chair, and said in silence for a moment, "With 5 spiritual roots, it is so difficult to build a foundation. Even if you take the foundation building pill, it is still quite difficult." "I know, but I'm not willing to give up," Lu Pinggan said. "Okay, you have ambition." Lu Xuanji nodded and said, "What about 5 spiritual roots? In life, if you don't even dare to fight, you will not be willing to die. I can give you the foundation building pill, but the family can't do a loss-making business. I can't buy it on credit, I can only buy it. I have 10,000 spirit stones here, you can buy the foundation building pill." Lu Pinggan said. In the medicine garden, because the spiritual medicines are constantly maturing, the price of the foundation building pill is constantly falling, from 18,000 to 15,000, 12,000, and now 10,000. "Yes." Lu Xuanji nodded and said, "In the family, 10,000 spirit stones can buy a foundation building pill, but outside, it costs at least 15,000. If there happens to be a shortage of goods, it is normal to rise to 20,000. In order to prevent you from being a second-hand dealer, I must personally supervise you to take the pill, to prevent you from wrestling it." "Yes," Lu Pinggan said, handing over the storage bag. Lu Xuanji just took a rough look and threw it to the merit elder. "Next, it is to apply for Pure Yang pill, Purple Mansion pill, and Nirvana pill. The price is 150,000 spirit stones. This is the lowest price in the market, and it is also a benefit of the family. In order to prevent some people from wrestling it to outsiders, it must be taken under the supervision of the 3 elders," Lu Xuanji said. At this time, there were only 3 foundation building 9th level and 85 foundation building 8th level people who came forward to apply for Purple Mansion pill, Pure Yang pill, etc. Lu Xuanji was very generous and approved it directly. Here, there happened to be Liu Wuchen and Lu Xuanwen. The 2 of them had poor qualifications, only 4 spiritual roots. One reached the peak of the 8th level of foundation building at the age of 150, and the other reached the peak of the 9th level of foundation building at the age of 180, and they were qualified to buy foundation building pills. After distributing the pills, he began to preach again. After the sermon, a family cultivator asked, and Lu Xuanji also responded. Then he encouraged someone, "Come on, work hard," etc. In this way, 3 consecutive days passed, brushing the sense of presence in the family, and successively distributed foundation building pills, Purple Mansion pills, Pure Yang pills, Nirvana pills, etc. to the cultivators, supervised them to take them, and entered the cave to retreat, and then he felt relieved. About 10 days later, Yi Wanai came out of retreat. After the joy, Lu Xuanji took out the Pure Yang pills, handed them over and said, "Here are 5 Pure Yang pills, of top grade, keep them for now." Yi Wanai frowned, did not take the pills, but said, "Husband, are you going on a long journey?" "Yes, I'm going to a place." Lu Xuanji said, "I won't tell you where it is, and you don't have to ask. It may take a little longer, maybe 3 to 5 years, or maybe 7 to 8 years. Husband, I won't say much about other things. Go early and come back early. Don't forget to practice." Yi Wanai reminded, saying, "Husband's aptitude is still better than mine, and his cultivation was higher than mine at the beginning, but now I'm already at the 7th level of Purple Mansion, but husband is only at the 4th level of Purple Mansion. It's mainly alchemy and refining tools that consume too much of husband's time. Husband, you should put these things aside and grasp the key points. No matter how good the tools and alchemy are, they are unorthodox ways and cannot lead to immortality. The only right way is to improve your cultivation." "Madam, I saved it." Lu Xuanji nodded. "Husband, I know that Patriarch Jin has a good impression of you, but she has great ambitions, goals, and visions in her heart, which are not what small people like me look up to. Love between men and women is insignificant in her heart. She is good to husband, because she wants to use husband." Yi Wanai said, "Husband, be careful. Don't be sold by her, and count money for her. You know, I don't like to use my brain, but it's not that easy to calculate me. Lu Xuanji smiled and said, even if you can calculate for a while, you can't calculate for a lifetime. The more you calculate in life, the narrower your life path will be. Man calculates, God calculates, and it's better not to calculate wrongly. Yuanai said, husband, you are too frank, and it's easy to suffer losses. The world of cultivating immortals is essentially a world where people eat each other. With such a generous character as husband, you will suffer losses in the end. Lu Xuanji said nonchalantly, I will pay attention. Oh, I almost forgot. Lu Xuanji thought of something and took out a sword from the storage bag. The sword flashed with cold light and fell to the ground with a swish. The blue bricks were pierced and endless cold air swept over. Instantly, the temperature of the cave dropped by several degrees. Good sword. Yuanai stretched out her hand and grabbed it, and the sword fell on her palm. About 3 inches away from the sword body, the words, Ice Soul, were engraved. Good sword, good sword. There are no talismans or array patterns in it. This is a sword embryo. You want me to carve talismans? Yuanai said happily, but she felt that it was empty inside, like a piece of blank paper for her to carve. Chapter 231 Heading to Chaos City. Lu Xuanji smiled. The Ice Soul sword is made of high quality ice soul stone, and some materials are added to it. It weighs 1,500 kilograms, which is just right for you. Yuanai sensed the Ice Soul sword and raised doubts. No, it is not possible to forge such a magic weapon with just ice soul stone. Some special materials are added to it. It's good to know, but don't ask. I won't tell you that there are special materials in it. Lu Xuanji smiled. In the Ice Soul sword, a kilogram of Daoji's iron jin was added, making the quality of this sword far surpass other similar swords, and it has the possibility of unlimited evolution. But he would not say it, for fear of scaring Yuanai. 10 grams of Xianjin can make a divine transformation cultivator take action and kill people to seize treasures. There is more than a kilogram of Xianjin in it. If Yuanai knew the preciousness of this Ice Soul sword, could she still sleep peacefully at night? Yuanai nodded and did not ask again, indulging in the gentle land until the news came 10 days later. Lu Xuanji left quietly without alarming anyone. At the entrance of the cave, there was a sign saying retreat. Therefore, all the monks of the Lu family thought that the patriarch was in retreat, which could be as short as 10 years, or as long as 30 or 40 years. When they arrived in the wilderness, they saw a beauty standing there under the moon. She had a cloak on her head, which covered her true face, but her graceful figure showed her charming aura. Is it Ancestor Jin? Lu Xuanji asked. It's me. The beauty took off her cloak and immediately revealed her stunning face. Looking at a beauty under the moon, there is an indescribable charm. Lu Xuanji's heart was slightly moved, but he collected his thoughts in an instant and asked, Grandpa, has everything been arranged? It's arranged. Grandpa Jin said, King Lian is in charge of Xiang Mountain. It's safe and worry-free there. Has the Lu family been arranged? Everything is fine with the Lu family. I feel so redundant. Lu Xuanji smiled bitterly and said, they can still live well without me. Grandpa Jin smiled and said, no, they will have a hard time without you. By the way, remember to wear this cloak to hide your identity. Is it useful? Lu Xuanji asked, after putting on the cloak. It's useful, but not very useful. Ancestor Jin said, if you don't fight, you can still hide your own aura, but if you meet a strong man and use his top-level magical powers, you will inevitably expose your true colors, unless you don't use those great magical powers and trump cards. In the world of immortal cultivation, is it useful to use aliases, disguises, and cloaks? It is useful, but it's not very useful. You have to weigh the pros and cons. Have you thought about your alias? Lu Xuanji said, my alias should be Yifan. Yifan, ordinary, it fits your low-key personality. Ancestor Jin nodded and said, my alias should be I can't remember it for the time being. Can you give me an alias? Lu Xuanji pondered and tried. How about your name be Jiziu, or Fanking Su? Ji is a big surname in Zhangzhou and an ancient royal family in Zhangzhou. It's better not to call it that. Ancestor Jin said, my alias will be Fanking Su. The ancestor understands, and chose a good name. Lu Xuanji said, of these two names, one is a vase and the other is a prodigy. The ancestor directly chose the prodigy, which shows that his intuition is still powerful. Ancestor Jin said, "Don't call me the ancestor. Outside, I call you Xiao Fanfan and you call me King Su." "Okay." Lu Xuanji nodded and said, "Hello King Su." "Hello, Xiao Fanfan." Thinking of Yi Hei and becoming Xiao Fanfan, Lu Xuanji couldn't help but smile. "Let's go." Ancestor Jin said, took out a flying boat, flashed, and took Lu Xuanji into it. This flying boat, from the outside, looks only 2 meters long and 1 meter high, but the space inside is huge, with a gorgeous palace, various delicacies, fruits, and a secret room for cultivation, etc. Entering the secret room, Lu Xuanji began to practice. Yi Wanyi, the great elder, and others have surpassed him. He can't continue to be careless. He must seize every bit of time to practice. If he continues to be careless, he may become another Huangrang. The flying boat was moving forward. About 3 days later, Patriarch Jin woke him up and told him to be careful. At this moment, the flying boat had left Chu State and was on the way to Chaos City. In Chu State, there were various rules and order. Even the Golden Pill Patriarch had to abide by the rules. But here, there were no rules at all. There was only killing, blood, death, and chaos. Even Patriarch Jin was solemn, standing on the bow with a solemn look. Lu Xuanji stood at the bow and asked, "Ancestor, are you scared?" "Yes, a little scared." Ancestor Jin spoke, not hiding his fear at all, and said, "Within 30,000 miles of Chaos City, it is a death zone. You will encounter all kinds of dangers and strange killing moves. Here, anything can happen. There was once a foundation building cultivator who cast a curse and killed a nascent soul cultivator. Another purple mansion cultivator cast a deadly poison and killed a half-step nascent soul cultivator. There was also a purple mansion assassin who assassinated a golden core cultivator. And there was also a golden core cultivator who killed a nascent soul with a killing array. Here, any accident, any possibility is possible. Don't be careless. Only by being afraid can you live longer. Understood. Lu Xuanji nodded. Remember, if you have any trump cards, you'd better be prepared. Ancestor Jin said, "Don't leave me more than 10 feet away, otherwise I won't be responsible if you die." Lu Xuanji nodded. Boom boom boom. At this moment, dark clouds floated in the sky. In the distance, it was dark clouds, but in the near distance, it was a group of insects. These insects were densely packed, turning into a terrifying sea of insects, sweeping in, endlessly, and drowning the flying boat. Ancestor Jin urged the flying boat, and the flying boat suddenly turned into a ball of fire, burning everything. The dark clouds made a hissing sound. Countless insects were scorched, making crackling sounds, and fell to the ground one after another. But there were still some insects, whose bodies were changing, flashing endless golden light, lying on the flying boat, and began to eat. In just a few breaths, the flying boat was full of potholes. Interesting, we are being targeted by insect cultivators. Patriarch Jin smiled. Xiao Fanfan, you have to watch out. This is a gold-eating insect. Gold-eating insects specialize in eating metal ores and devouring magic weapons. They are not afraid of attacks from magic weapons or spells, but they are only afraid of attacks from ice. To a certain extent, cultivators with ice spiritual roots naturally restrain gold-eating insects. Ordinary giant cultivators will only choose to run away when they encounter gold-eating insects. After all, gold-eating insects are powerful, but they are too slow. If the giant cultivator runs away, the gold-eating insect cannot catch up. However, if they fight to the death, even the giant cultivator will perish. It's a pity that I don't have an ice spiritual root, and neither do you. Your Taoist partner Yi Wanyi does have an ice spiritual root, but it's a pity that she is no longer here. Chapter 232 Chapter 231 Insect Cultivator, Go Demon Sect. As if considering, Patriarch Jin asked, "What do you think we should do?" Lu Xuanji smiled and said, "Retreat is impossible. If we take a step back now, there may be countless hyenas behind us, and we will be in greater danger. King Su must have a way to break this move. I don't believe that the gold-eating insects are really invincible. I can't deal with the gold-eating insects, but I can deal with the people behind them." Patriarch Jin smiled and said, that insect cultivator is super controlling the insects to attack us. The distance will not exceed 100 miles. This is the floor. With a finger, the natal flying sword turned into a golden light and flashed. The flying sword shot to a distance of 100 miles. After just a few breaths, the besieged insect swarm began to scatter and retreat. The flying boat flashed a few times, and after advancing 100 miles, a golden flying sword was seen piercing the body of a cultivator. This cultivator was wearing grey clothes and looked unremarkable. He was just a passerby walking on the road. His cultivation was only at the 8th level of foundation building, but who would have thought that he was the mastermind behind the scenes? Swish. Ancestor Jin urged his magic power and turned it into a big hand to collect his body. He took back the flying sword and drove the flying boat to continue moving forward. The monks who were watching from all sides and wanted to attack hesitated. Killing the fat sheep is a tradition, but the price is too high, and it is not worth it. Looking at the corpse, Xuanji was about to go forward to check. But the next moment, he was stopped by Ancestor Jin. There is a kind of poison on the corpse, called immortal powder. It is wrong to say it is a poison, but it is a magical medicine. After absorbing this magical medicine, the nascent soul cultivator will fall into a deep sleep for 3 consecutive days, and wake up naturally. After waking up, the soul power will be improved by 1 level, the mind will be refreshed, and the fatigue of the body will also dissipate by most. This magical medicine has no harm to the cultivator, but it has infinite benefits. However, in some cases, it is used to harm people. Now, you are going to fall into a deep sleep. After just 3 breaths, Xuanji felt dizzy and seemed to be falling into a deep sleep. He urged the pure yang true fire to expel the toxins, but it was useless. His eyelids were twitching, and after a few breaths, he fell into a deep sleep. After an unknown amount of time, Xuanji opened his eyes and looked around vigilantly. His muscles were tense, but he saw the windows, the bed, the curtains, and the scenery outside the window. At this moment, he was no longer on the flying boat, but in an inn. You're awake. At this moment, a woman came over, wearing a red dress, like blood, with a ghost mask on her face, holding a sword, standing there with murderous intent. It was clearly the appearance of a female devil. Ancestor Jin, is that you? Xuanji asked. It's me. Ancestor Jin smiled. The ghost mask disappeared. The red dress on his body disappeared, turned white. The evil spirit dissipated and turned into a plain look again. Where is this? This is Chaos City. You have been sleeping for 3 days. Jin Liaozu explained. After being hit by immortal sleep, you fell into a deep sleep. A cultivator attacked us, but I killed him. Then I took you to Chaos City. It was just a few simple sentences, omitting many things, but there were many killings and deaths behind it. Thinking about being hit by the immortal sleep, I was ashamed. How did you find out? Xuanji asked curiously. Why didn't you get hit? With more experiences, I have become more prepared. Jin Liaozu smiled and said, on the way to Chaos City for the first time, I was also hit, but King Lian rescued me. As for how to avoid the immortal sleep, it is actually very simple. Just use magic power to protect your mouth and nose, and don't smell the smell. That's it. Thank you. Xuanji said. Get ready, there will be an auction in about 3 days. Jin Liaozu said, there may be infant pills there. Xuanji asked, what is the name of that insect cultivator? That insect cultivator, his name is Jiang Han. He was a casual cultivator, but he got the relics of a predecessor and embarked on the road of cultivation. Relying on the insect control jar, he can control the sea of insects to launch attacks and has killed 3 Jinden and 5 Zifu cultivators. As for other cultivators, they are countless. It is remarkable that he, a mere foundation building cultivator, can do this. It's a pity that he still took the side path, the hopeless road, and finally died in my hands. Ancestor Jin said lightly, his words calmly. It was like stepping on an ant on the road. Xuanji asked curiously, Ancestor, can I see the insect control jar? Yes. Ancestor Jin nodded and threw a storage bag over. Xuanji opened the storage bag and saw a grey stone jar and several volumes of books inside. They seemed to be telling about the identification cultivation, and control of demon insects, which was a whole new field. Looking at these data, he was eager to try. Omnipotence comes from omniscience. The more knowledge you know, the stronger your wisdom is, the more you can improve your cultivation and evolve into an invincible realm. Many times, there are only two aspects that restrict the deduction of mobile phones. One is the lack of computing power of mobile phones, and the other is the lack of knowledge stored in mobile phones. The lack of knowledge and scarcity restrict the deduction of mobile phones, and many times the deduction cannot be continued. These books can hardly make up for the shortcomings of his knowledge system perfectly. When he was about to open the book, he was stopped by Xuanji. "What does this mean?" Xuanji asked. "Do you know your shortcomings?" Ancestor Jin asked. "I don't know." Xuanji said. "You have top-notch comprehension, top-notch talent, and a pure Yang Taoist body, and your luck is also top-notch. But you have a fatal flaw, that is, your mind is too complicated, and you think too much." Ancestor Jin said, "Before the nascent soul stage, you must be focused and refined. Only in this way can you have a future and a path to the Tao. After the nascent soul stage, you are qualified to be broad-minded and learn from the strengths of many schools. You can take a look, but don't let your mind be distracted." "I understand. Before the nascent soul stage, I would not refine other magic weapons, practice other magical powers, or dabble in other techniques." Xuanji agreed. "It's good that you understand." After giving instructions, Patriarch Jin sat beside and waited. Xuanji opened the scroll and began to read Encyclopedia of Insects, Spirit Insect Breeding, Poison Demon Sutra, and Insect Control Manual. These were all recorded with a mobile phone, and then the data was deduced. He opened the scroll and began to read. The Encyclopedia of Insects records the information of about 1,000 kinds of spirit insects, including the lifespan, specialties, magical powers, etc. of the insects. Spirit insect breeding is about cultivating and upgrading insects. The Poison Demon Sutra talks about refining insects into natal poison insects, nourishing oneself, and thus advancing. The Insect Control Manual talks about controlling insects to attack. Among the 7 veins of the demon sect, which vein is the strongest is hard to say. Some say it is the Yellow Spring Demon vein, some say it is the White Bone Demon vein, and some say it is the Hehorn Demon vein, but it is very clear which vein is the weakest, and that is the Poison Demon vein. This lineage is good at refining spirit insects, and turning them into their own natal insect poo. With the help of the goo insects, they advance and feed back to themselves, promoting their own advancement. The advantage is that the threshold is low in the early stage, and a large number of low-level cultivators can be cultivated. In the key refining stage and the foundation establishment stage, the number of cultivators is the largest, and their methods are strange and unpredictable. But it is very difficult to advance to the Purple Mansion and the Golden Core. The strongest person born in the Goo Demon lineage is only at the God transformation stage, and the upper limit is too low. Success is due to the goo insects, and failure is also due to the goo insects. Ancestor Jin said, talking about the Goo Demon lineage, his words were full of disdain, that Jiang Han, with the foundation building cultivation, controls the gold-eating insects, and can kill golden core cultivators. Of course, he is extremely powerful, but he cannot seek immortality. After all, it is a side door. Chapter 233 Experiments on Bugs. Yes, the Goo Xiu lineage is indeed a heretical technique. Xuanji flipped through these books, but a glimmer of light flashed in his eyes. The techniques passed down by the 7 lines of the demon sect are all bloody and cruel, contrary to the harmony of heaven, and only the Goo Demon lineage is an exception. Their techniques are not bloody, cruel, and do not kill a large number of monks and mortals. They just cultivate goo insects and strengthen themselves, but they are despised by the demon sect, because this lineage has the lowest upper limit, and the upper limit is only the peak of the god transformation, which is regarded as the shame of the demon sect. At the same time, it is also despised by the righteous lineage, calling it a side door and a heretical technique, and falling into the lineage of the demon sect. In the Goo Demon Sutra, there is a method of cultivation for Goo Xiu. First refiner bug is the natal bug goo. When the bug advances to the foundation building stage, it will feed back to the monk and advance to the foundation building stage. When the bug advances to the purple mansion, it will feed back to the monk and assist the monk in advancing to the purple mansion. And so on, relying on the advancement of the bug to promote their own advancement. The upper limit of insect cultivation depends on the upper limit of insects, but the upper limit of insects is too low. In terms of the upper limit of race, the bloodlines of divine beasts such as golden crow, white tiger, azure dragon, and black tortoise have the potential to become immortals, and the upper limit is extremely high. But for the insect race, the upper limit of potential is mostly foundation building. A few are purple mansion, and the number of insects that advance to the golden elixir is even smaller. In terms of racial combat power, there are strong races, such as white tiger, azure dragon, golden crow, etc., which are invincible in the same realm and can even fight across levels. But the insect race is almost at the bottom. The golden elixir stage insect monsters are often defeated by the purple mansion monsters, and the Yuanying insect monsters are often defeated by the golden elixir monsters. In the same realm, the combat power of demon insects is only 1/10 of that of other monsters, or even lower. When the demon insect lineage fights with the enemy, it is often hundreds, thousands, and tens of thousands, rushing up, not relying on quality, but relying on quantity to win. In terms of race lifespan, the lifespan of a human cultivator is 120 years for key training, 240 years for foundation building, 480 years for purple mansion, 1000 years for golden elixir, 2000 years for Yuanying, and 5000 years for Huotian. Humans are called short-lived species because of their short lifespan. The lifespan of ordinary monsters is 3 or 4 times that of humans. Those monsters with top-level bloodlines have a lifespan of 5 or 6 times that of humans. As for pure-blooded beasts, their lifespan is more than 10 times that of humans. But the lifespan of the Zerg is even shorter, with many insects only living for a few months, and some powerful insects only living for 10 years. According to the Zerg Encyclopedia, according to the average lifespan statistics, the lifespan of insects in the key training stage is 10 years, the lifespan of insects in the foundation building stage is 50 years, the lifespan of insects in the purple mansion stage is 100 years, the lifespan of insects in the golden elixir stage is 200 years, the lifespan of insects in the Yuanying stage is 500 years, and the lifespan of insects in the Huotian stage is 1000 years. These shortcomings combined together lead to the low upper limit of the potential of the Zerg, low combat effectiveness at the same level, and a short lifespan, almost ranking last among the monsters. The lack of insects also restricted the development of insect cultivation, making it difficult for the Gu demon lineage to grow stronger. Taking over the insect control jar, Xuanji sensed the space inside. It was about 30 cubic meters, divided into 5 grid spaces. Each grid space had an insect nest, which contained flame insects, gold-eating insects, phantom butterflies, blood-winged poisonous mosquitoes, and diamond beetles. These insects have their own characteristics. They can swallow fire, eat gold, perform illusions, be highly toxic, and defend. A single insect has very poor combat effectiveness, but if hundreds, thousands, or tens of thousands of them rush up together, ordinary giant and masters really can't handle it. The above are disadvantages, but what are the advantages? Xuanji pondered. The growth cycle of insects is short and the advancement speed is fast. Insects must advance to giant within 200 years, because if they cannot, their lifespan will be exhausted. In addition, insects are small in size and consume less resources. The resources spent by human cultivators on advancing to the foundation building stage are enough to cultivate 100 foundation building demon insects. But this is meaningless. 100 foundation building demon insects may not beat a human cultivator. After a moment, Xuanji put down the scroll and said, "Thank you, Ancestor. These are just small things." Ancestor Jin smiled. "I don't want the insect control jar, I just want an egg," Xuanji said, and handed the storage bag back. In his palm, there was only an egg the size of a grain of rice. "This is a gold-eating insect egg. What's the use of this?" Ancestor Jin smiled and said, "The upper limit of the potential of the gold-eating insect is low. The strongest can only become a purple mansion monster insect. It can't help you much. I just want to do an experiment. Lu Xuanji smiled. What experiment? Ancestor Jin asked curiously. I can't say. Lu Xuanji smiled. It's just some ideas. It will take some time to think about the details. The auction will be held in 10 days. Ancestor Jin said, do you have anything you want to auction? Yes. Lu Xuanji smiled, took out 10 purple mansion pills, and placed them on the table. This is a top grade product. Ancestor Jin smelled the scent, and judged the grade of the elixir. A trace of shock flashed in his eyes. Your alchemy skills are beyond the imagination of the world. It seems that in the future, I will need your help. To make the ancient pill I need to advance to the god of transformation. If I can advance to the peak of the nascent soul, I will definitely make the ancient pill for the ancestor. Lu Xuanji smiled. It was like an ordinary person promising that, after I make 100 million, I will definitely donate 10 million. I hope so. Ancestor Jin said, just remember, your alias is Yifan, my alias is Fan King Su, don't call me ancestor anymore. Lu Xuanji nodded. Ancestor Jin gave some instructions again and left later. After Ancestor Jin left, Lu Xuanji began to drip blood to feed the insect eggs. After absorbing the blood, the insect eggs and Lu Xuanji had a trace of connection. Then Lu Xuanji pointed his finger at his chest, and his chest tore open, revealing a bright red heart. Then he pressed the insect eggs on the heart. But the eggs entered the heart, and the technique was practiced, and the chest injury was healed. Recalling the records in the Guemo Sutra, he began to practice the technique, and a slight connection was established with the eggs, and a contract was signed. At the moment of signing the contract, the eggs turned into the natal goo worm. Boom, boom. The heart was beating violently, and the blood in the heart washed the eggs, nourishing and growing the eggs, and the vitality in the eggs was nourishing little by little. Guemo Sutra, the initial entry. Up to now, he is also considered a worm cultivator, or a goo cultivator. Anyway, 3 days later, the eggs in the heart broke open, and turned into a rice-sized worm, and the gold-eating worm was born. At this time, the gold-eating worm began to devour Lu Xuanji's blood, and began to grow little by little, improving his cultivation. It only takes 5 years to advance to the foundation building stage, and 20 years to advance to the purple mansion. This speed is much faster than the human spiritual route. After reaching the purple mansion, the race bottleneck of the gold-eating worm will also appear, and it will be stuck at the peak of the purple mansion until its lifespan is exhausted. At that time, we can proceed to the second step of the experiment. Lu Xuanji thought. Chapter 234. The auction begins. On the streets of Chaos City, a man and a woman were walking. The man was about 20 years old, with a beautiful face and a slender figure. He was wearing green clothes, and holding a sword in his left hand. He exuded elegance and freedom, and was graceful with a faint smile on his lips. The woman was about 20 years old, with combed hair, a face like a peony, beautiful eyes, red lips, a body like a willow, a plump figure and a personality. She was wearing a purple long skirt, which made her look charming and high pressure. When the two were together, they seemed to reach out to their partner, and the woman took a step back, as if she was centered on the man. Walking on the street, Lu Xuanji was slightly shocked, as if in a dream. In Chaos City, there is peace and stability. Even some arrogant robbers are as stable as good babies here. On the street, there are righteous monks, demon monks, overseas monks, Rakshasa, and other strange races. Different races gather here, get along equally, keep hawking, and bargain on the stalls. Here a demon monk is hawking, and a human monk comes forward to ask, arguing with each other over the price. There is also a purple mansion monk who quarrels with a Yuanying monk because of the goods, and it seems that he doesn't care about his identity. Here, different races have achieved peaceful coexistence. Monks of different levels live in harmony. It's great here. Lu Xuanji said. That's because the city lord is a god. Jin Liaozhu said, the strong make the rules, and the weak abide by the rules. If one day you become a god, you will also have such authority. I will. Lu Xuanji nodded, and a vision rose in his heart. The streets here are paved with white stones, spotless, and wide enough for 5 carriages to run side by side. There is clear water flowing on both sides of the street, and fish are spitting bubbles in it. On both sides of the street, there are shops. The shops are simple, with grey walls, just like shops in the mortal world. The restaurants here, as well as the willow trees on the roadside, are all ordinary willow trees, and they also try to imitate the style of the mortal world. Walking around the street, it feels like entering a mortal city. This city lord is amazing. He wants to become a god first, and then become immortal. He integrates everything he has become into his life. He is no longer pretentious, but truly mortal. Xuanji said in telepathy. Not only that, there are also some Yuanying peak cultivators who live in seclusion here, incarnated as mortals, and hidden in the city. So if you see a drunkard here, don't underestimate him. He may be a top sword cultivator. If you see a brothel woman receiving guests, don't underestimate him. He may be a big boss of Hehuandao. If you see a butcher killing pigs, he smells dirty. Don't underestimate him. He may be an old devil of Beigudao. If you see a wild dog on the ground, it is snatching food from other dogs. It may be a demon Yuanying. Here, any accidents may happen. Don't underestimate any random person here, even any random dog. Woof woof. At this time, there was a dog barking. Xuanji subconsciously looked over, thinking in his heart, this dog can't be a Yuanying big demon. Looking around, it's just an ordinary dog. There may be two reasons. One is that it is really an ordinary dog, and the other is that it is a Yuanying big boss. If it were in other places, it would be impossible, but it is very likely here. There was once a Yuanying big demon who sealed his magic power and turned into an ordinary dog to snatch food from ordinary dogs. There is also a half-step divine female cultivator in Hehuandao who directly transformed into a prostitute and chatted and laughed in the brothel. They are returning to their original nature, and step by step they find their former selves. To become a god, you must first become a mortal. To become a mortal is not to live a pretentious mortal life, but to find your original heart step by step while living a mortal life. The cultivators are growing step by step, but they are also constantly losing themselves and forgetting their original hearts. I'm no longer myself. The essence of becoming immortal is to find back the lost original heart. The cultivators here are forbidden to fly and try to get closer to mortal life. After walking for a while, they arrived in front of a shop. At the door of the shop are two white jade unicorns, with two purple mansion cultivators sitting in charge, exuding a terrifying atmosphere. On the plaque, there are 3 words Jubeo Tower. Why are there Jubeo Towers everywhere? Xuanji asked curiously. When you become a divine, you will understand how huge the influence of Jubeo Tower is. Jin Leozu smiled, and did not dwell on this issue. Patriarch Jin stepped forward, and took out the invitation. The guard read it, and let him in immediately. After entering here, he sat down in a private room, which was semi-open. The private room used a jade table, with a faint incense burning next to it, and spiritual tea on the table. Looking from the window, there were many cultivators on the first floor talking, with a faint sense of superiority. Giant and cultivators were also big shots in Chaos City, and they could sit alone in the private room. If they were foundation building cultivators or purple mansion cultivators, they could only squeeze together in the hall on the first floor. Wait, the treasure auction will start. There will be 4th grade spiritual treasures, golden elixirs, 4th grade 5 element fruits, golden elixir exercises, and other life extending treasures. Patriarch Jin introduced. If you like any treasure, tell me. After Xuanji nodded and waited for a moment, the auction began. A female cultivator presided over the auction and said, here is a piece of Tei real gold, weighing 300 kilograms, which is the main material for refining a 4th grade spiritual treasure. The price is 2.5 million spiritual stones. At this time, 3 cultivators came up with a red plate, in which was placed a 3-foot high divine iron, glittering and emitting the aura of Zhengjin. Immediately, someone started to sell it, vying for it, but when the price rose to 2.8 million, no one bid anymore. If the price fluctuated by a certain percentage, there would be cultivators who would buy it, but if the price was too high, far beyond the price of commodities, many cultivators would give up, and no one would be a sucker. Then, the second item to be auctioned was a Giandan. Giandan can help cultivators at the peak of the purple mansion to condense the Jinden and increase the probability of reaching the third level. Countless cultivators scrambled for it, and it was finally bought by a cultivator at the peak of the Purple Mansion for 3.5 million spiritual stones. Xuanji was observing and calculating. The Lu family could earn a surplus of 100,000 spirit stones every year. After accumulating for 30 years, they could buy a Jinden. It didn't seem too expensive. Back then, it took the Lu family 20 years of surplus to buy a foundation building pill. It took the Lu family 30 years of surplus to buy a pure Yang pill. But it only took the Lu family 30 years of surplus to buy a Jinden. Unknowingly, the Lu family became much more affluent. Chapter 235 Goodbye Void Treasure Box. The next dozens of treasures were flying swords, robes, armor, alchemy furnaces, elixirs, or other things. None of these things interested Jin Leozu. About half an hour later, there was finally a treasure that made Jin Leozu excited. The next treasure is the sacred object of the earth element, the earth spirit pearl. The female cultivator pulled open the red cloth, and there was a pearl the size of a human head inside. The starting price is 2 million spirit stones. This pearl was all earthy yellow, and when it appeared, there was a heavy earthy smell, and the earth energy was surging. Jin Leozu said, "You have 3 spiritual roots of fire, wood and earth. Fire and wood are all prosperous, but only earth is a little weak. The earth spirit pearl is suitable for you to use. I bought it for you. 2,100,000. At this time, a voice came from another private room, but it was a female cultivator wearing red clothes and a red veil covering her face. 2,200,000. Jin Leozu said. 2,300,000. The red-clothed female cultivator did not show any weakness. 2.5 million. There were hundreds of private rooms at this auction, but most of them were silent, obviously not interested. 2.5 million. 3 million. The red-dressed female cultivator raised the price a lot, as if she was impatient. 3.5 million. The old ancestor Jin laughed. 3.5 million. The red-dressed female cultivator spoke directly. The old ancestor Jin sighed and put down his hand. I wanted to spend a lot of money to buy the infant forming pill, but now I have no money. 3.5 million is beyond my psychological expectation. The other side is angry, but we can't be angry. Xuanji laughed. The old ancestor Jin laughed at himself. I thought I was rich, but today I know I'm a frog in the well. There are too many rich big guys. Xuanji was silent, but he muttered in his heart, this is not a rich big guy, but a rich second generation cultivator. Big guys buy things based on the price, but the second generation cultivators don't buy things based on the price. After the earth spirit pearl was sold, another treasure was exchanged, which was a box. The box was pink and had a feminine atmosphere. The word Feiyu was engraved on the box. This is a void treasure box. The kind of void treasure box may contain the treasure of the predecessors of the god transformation, or it may contain a great evil thing, or it may be empty. The key is to find the right way to open the treasure box. If you don't find the right way to open the treasure box, forcing it to open may damage the things inside. I won't say much about other things. The starting price is 1 million spirit stones. The female cultivator said. The void treasure box is the drifting bottle left by the predecessors. There may be treasures in it, or there may be nothing. It depends on luck. Of course, it may also be forged by later generations. The world of cultivating immortals lacks everything, but there is no shortage of fakes. There are too many cultivators who are good at forging this. Xuanji's eyes were stunned. Do you know this treasure box? Asked Jin Leozu. I know it. Xuanji said. 2 million. I want the void treasure box. 2.5 million. Fellow Taoist, I also want to study it. A cultivator in the private room said. 3 million. Xuanji shouted without hesitation, as if he was determined to get it. 4 million. In another private room, another cultivator shouted. 6 million. Xuanji directly increased the price by 2 million, as if he was so poor that he only had money left. He was a second generation cultivator. He wanted to use spirit stones to kill people. Suddenly, many people were silent. 6 million, the first time. 6 million, the second time. 6 million, the third time. The void treasure box belongs to you, the female cultivator said, very happy. At the auction, many items have corresponding prices. If they are too high, everyone will give up. But the second generation cultivators don't care about money, they will snatch for fighting spirit, which makes the price of items much higher. For example, the starting price of the void treasure box is 2 million, and it has been unsold 3 times and no one has bought it. Now it's good. There are fools who take over directly, and the price is still inflated to 6 million. After a while, the void treasure box was delivered. Xuanji directly took out 6 million spirit stones and handed it over. After the cultivator left, Xuanji excitedly stepped forward and stroked the box, as if stroking a lover. Is this void treasure box worth 6 million spirit stones? Asked Jin Liaozu. I can't say. As he said that, Xuanji opened his mouth and swallowed the void treasure box into his stomach, storing it in the void stomach. If it weren't for the wrong place and time, Xuanji even planned to study how to open the box directly. At the same time, the mobile phone was scanning. Item: feather treasure box. Restrictions: the box is made of feathered green gold. Features: there is a causal distortion force on it, which will make the cultivator subconsciously ignore the box. Opening method: attain through water and female blood are required. The auction continued, but there was nothing good next, just some rare spiritual medicines, monster bones, and 4th grade spiritual treasures, etc., which were very precious to Purple Mansion cultivators, but not to Giant cultivators. Finally, there was a highlight. The starting price of the infant forming pill is 10 million, the female cultivator said. Suddenly, the auction entered its climax. 12 million, 13 million, 15 million, 20 million. When the Jin Patriarch shouted out 20 million, many Jindan cultivators were silent. The price of the infant forming pill fluctuated between 10 million and 15 million. It was a bit of a loss to directly shout out 20 million a year. There was only one reason, that the lifespan of the Jindan cultivator was not long, and he could not wait any longer. Finally, the Jin Patriarch got what he wanted, and got the infant forming pill. The auction was also declared over. Back in the inn, the Jin Patriarch said, originally, I didn't need the infant forming pill, but after the 9 transformations, my foundation is more solid, and I can only rely on the infant forming pill. I also have a 5-element fruit in my hand, and I plan to use them together, to increase the probability of breakthrough. Ancestor, is it safe to break through here? Xuanji said worriedly. Safe, absolutely safe, said the Jin Patriarch. Ancestor, can I lend you a drop of blood? Xuanji asked. Ancestor Jin's face was gloomy and he said, what do you mean? It's just a drop of blood. Xuanji said, what else can it mean? In the world of immortal cultivation, there are various curses that require the help of blood. When you are outside, you must be careful and alert to prevent your blood from flowing outside, so as not to be calculated and cursed. Ancestor Jin said, you must understand the taboos. Xuanji immediately said respectfully, Ancestor, I was wrong. Ancestor Jin said, don't tell the cultivators about this in the future, it's a taboo. But I really need a drop of blood from the ancestor. Xuanji hesitated and said, I need the ancestor's blood to open the void treasure chest. He took out the pink void treasure chest and said, to open this treasure chest, 2 conditions are required, one is attain through water, and the other is female blood. Chapter 236 Mystery. What do you think? Looking at the pink treasure chest, Jin Liaozu's expression changed, and he had different feelings. Originally, she didn't care about such a treasure chest. Back then, when she was a child, she also opened 7 or 8 empty treasure chests, but the results were either empty or a small amount of spiritual stones, and some were simply fake. So, she simply gave up completely. I have attain through water here, about 1 kilogram. If it's not enough, you can buy it from outside. Jin Liaozu said. Enough? Xuanji asked curiously. It is said that attain through water is hard to find. Hard to find, that's for you, but for me, it's nothing. Jin Liaozu said calmly. It's like a villa worth tens of millions, which is out of reach for the working class, but for a rich man, it's just a nod. Is it safe here? If I open the treasure chest, I'm worried that something unspeakable will happen. Xuanji said. Is it necessary to do this? Jin Liaozu smiled and said, could there be a fairy weapon inside? Lu Xuanji did not answer, but nodded. Ancestor Jin took a breath of cold air and wanted to refute something, but he remained silent and said, wait a minute. He took out some formation flags and set them up, starting from outside the courtyard and then in the room. The formation was extremely tight and leak-proof. It's so tight here that even the incarnation of the spirit can resist a little. But if the incarnation of the spirit forcibly peaks, it can't resist. Ancestor Jin said, however, the city lord will not be so uncultured and will not be bored enough to spy on us. That's good. We are going to open the treasure chest now. Lu Xuanji said. Wait a minute, are the treasures inside really precious? Ancestor Jin asked. Very valuable, at least selling you is not worth this box. Lu Xuanji said. Wait a minute. Ancestor Jin was panicking and subconsciously said, since it is so precious, it is not safe to open it here. It is better to go back to Xiang Mountain. No, we can't go to Xiang Mountain unless you want to bring disaster to the Chu state. Who knows what will happen when we open the box? Lu Xuanji said, we have to prepare for the worst. Okay. Ancestor Jin nodded. Somehow, after arriving in Chaos City, his subconscious mind was centered on him. He took out a jar with a pound of attain true water in it. Attain true water can be used to make pills and tools, and it can be said to have a wide range of uses, but as for how precious it is not rare. In fact, many things can be bought in Chaos City. If it is not urgent, you can buy it at a lower price, but if it is urgent, you have to buy it at a premium. Lu Xuanji took the jar and sensed the attain true water. There was a very cold and yin breath in it and signaled her to drip blood into the jar. Ancestor Jin nodded, cut his finger, and drops of blood fell into it. The color of the water changed and soon turned red. Lu Xuanji took a deep breath, suppressed the restlessness in his heart, and controlled the attain true water to smear on the box. A trace appeared on the box, and he continued to smear and erode. Jin is a kind of fairy gold. It is extremely hard and is not afraid of ordinary heavenly fire divine water. Only when it encounters attain true water will it melt into particles. About half an hour later, the lid of the box was cut open and thrown aside. Looking into the box, it was grey and hazy. The chaotic fog blocked everything, and it was unclear what was inside. But, at this moment, the void flashed, and a shadow of a woman appeared in the box. Her red clothes were like blood, and her face could not be seen clearly, but she exuded a trace of murderous aura and swept over. In a trance, it seemed that I saw a woman, with blood-stained white clothes, and endless battle scenes, fighting with demon cultivators, fighting with demons, fighting with Buddhist cultivators, fighting with barbarians, fighting with Yuanying, fighting with Huashan, fighting with Liangsu, fighting with Hideo, and fighting with immortals. Finally, tearing the 9 layers of the immortal world and ascending to the immortal world. Endless battles dominate everything. Under her feet, there are mountains of corpses and seas of blood. As the saying goes, the bones are like mountains and the surnames are forgotten. They are nothing but beauties and young men. The next moment, the murderous aura was restrained, the illusion disappeared, and it seemed that nothing had happened. The woman in white asked, one is a purple mansion cultivator and the other is a golden elixir cultivator. They are both ants, weak and pitiful. It's a little early to open the box. Lu Xuanji said, it's not too early, it's just right. If you reach Huashan and Liangsu, it may not be necessary. The woman in white looked at the old ancestor Jin and asked, Junior, what's your name? The old ancestor Jin said, Junior Jinzi. The expression was a little terrified and surprised. Once, the old man who had reached the state of transformation in the family was not even a fraction of this senior. She was really lucky this time. The woman in white said, there are 2 paths for you to choose from. The first is to take the goddess order and join the goddess palace and become the young master of the goddess palace. At that time, there will be a cultivator of the refining void as your protector, and you will have top level immortal medicine, enlightenment tea, and top level skills. The second is that I have forged a sword embryo. With this sword, you can chop down the heavens, kill the enemies, and kill your way to immortality. Make your choice. What is your name, senior? Jinzi asked, wanting to explore more information. You only have a quarter of an hour to think, the woman in white said. Xuanji was at a loss and thought, both choices are good and you won't suffer any loss if you choose either one. If you choose the right one, you can ascend to become an immortal, and if you choose the wrong one, you can still be a top boss. It feels good. In fact, my ideal is very small, and I don't ask for ascending to become an immortal or becoming a great power. I just want to become a god and avenge my family. Xuanji, what do you think? Xuanji smiled. It seems that there are only two choices, but in fact there is only one choice, and the answer is obvious. It depends on how you choose. Xuanji thought, I choose the latter. The woman in white nodded, holding a token in her hand, and the goddess token shattered and turned into ashes. In the box, the chaotic light dissipated, and a palace flew out, as well as a sword. I will give you a palace and a sword. This palace is called Chaos Palace. It was forged by me from a huge chaos stone captured in the starry sky. It was my former residence. This sword was forged by me. It is just a sword embryo. There are no runes, prohibitions, formations, or Deo patterns engraved on it. You need to carve and refine it carefully. Controlling the palace can help you escape and save your life. Holding the sword can help you kill the world and ascend to become an immortal. Good luck. As she said that, the woman in white disappeared. The palace turned into a stream of light and entered Xuanji's brow. But the green sword came forward, dripping, and blood melted the sword embryo. It was initially refined and turned into a stream of light and entered the dungeon. After a long time, Xuanji opened his eyes and said apologetically, I'm sorry, your chance was snatched away by me. Sure enough, everything is as expected. To open the treasure chest, you need attain true water, which is expected, but it requires woman's blood. But I guessed that it is not possible for me. Xuanji sighed. He thought he was going to have another adventure, but he didn't expect to be at all. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 237 Xuanji attacks Yuanying. Why choose me? Asked Patriarch Jin. You need a woman's blood to open the treasure chest. Why choose me? You can choose Yuanying. After all, Yuanying is your Taoist partner. Because the ancestor is the most suitable. Xuanji said. Yuanying has no shortage of resources, but time. Even if she has an adventure, it may not be transformed into strength. But the ancestor is different. If the ancestor gets the treasure in the void treasure chest, he can improve his cultivation. For the giant and to impact the Yuanying, it is necessary to overcome the heavenly tribulation, the human tribulation, and the life tribulation. How to overcome them, I don't know. But if you get the treasure in the treasure chest, the possibility of surviving the tribulation will be greater. A person should have a backer. Only when a mortal has a backer can he live a life without worries. Only when a cultivator has a backer can he soar to the sky. If there is no backer, he may die in the calamity halfway. In the past, the Lu family was my backer, and the Great Elder was my backer. Later, the Yi family was my backer, and the ancestor was also my backer. I don't want the ancestor to die in the nascent soul calamity, so that I will have no backer, and the future path will have twists and turns. If the ancestor becomes a nascent soul, my backer will be more stable and stronger. Backer, is it just a backer? Ancestor Jin said, in the future, don't call me ancestor, call me Xuanji. This. Xuanji did not dwell on this issue, but asked, why did the ancestor choose the second one? Someone said, give me two choices. One is to give me a steamed bun now to fill my stomach. The other is to give me 100,000 taels of silver 10 years later. I naturally choose the former. Xuanji said, the future is too far, the present is too close. Things that are close at hand are better than beautiful scenery in the distance. The goddess's token can make me the young master of the goddess's palace, but who knows how valuable it is. It's not bad to be a victim of marriage. I'm afraid that I will be plotted against by some people and die miserably. People's hearts are fickle, and it's too difficult to control them with a token. On the contrary, a sword embryo has infinite possibilities. Lu Xuanji nodded and said, the ancestor is wise. Let's go to the Chaos Palace to let you see our palace. Ancestor Jin said politely, and the Chaos Palace appeared in his palm, calling Lu Xuanji to enter the palace first. Lu Xuanji also stepped into the palace. The interior of the palace is not gorgeous, but much simpler, like an ordinary cultivator's cave, with a retreat room, an alchemy room, a storage room, a bathroom, a hot spring room, a spiritual medicine room, etc. There are only 18 rooms, as simple as a mortal's living room. Breathing slightly, he felt the rich spiritual energy. Is there a spiritual vein here? Lu Xuanji said. Yes, inside the palace, there is a level 9 spiritual vein, but most of it is sealed, and only part of the seal is opened, which is equivalent to a level 4 spiritual vein. If I can enter the nascent soul, the seal will be gradually unlocked, and turned into a level 5 spiritual vein. Xuanji said, come, I will treat you to a cup of enlightenment tea. Arrived at the spiritual spring room, the spiritual spring. The true fire was lit, and soon it was steaming hot and fragrant. Drinking the enlightenment tea, Lu Xuanji suddenly felt refreshed, his thinking perception was improving, and his understanding of the Yuanxi Xiandao made a big progress. Good tea, where is it from? Lu Xuanji asked. There is a can of tea in the palace. Xuanji said, there used to be a tea tree of enlightenment here, which was of grade 9, the best in the world. It also suppressed the spiritual veins here, and regulated the changes in the spiritual energy here. But before Xiahou Daojun ascended, he directly used the secret technique to trace the tea tree of enlightenment back to its origin, and turned it into a seed. It needs to be planted, and the tea tree seeds will turn into tea trees. Come over here, and take a look. Xuanji led them to the spiritual medicine room. Entering here, there are about 100 acres of spiritual fields. The area is not large, but looking at the soil on the ground, Lu Xuanji feels his body is restless, eager to eat the grey soil on the ground. He has 3 spiritual roots of fire, wood, and earth, and is extremely sensitive to earth-related divine objects. What kind of soil is this? Lu Xuanji asked. 9 heavens Ziren. Xuanji said. Silk. Lu Xuanji was shocked and speechless. It is about 100 acres of spiritual fields, and the soil thickness is more than 1 meter. How many 9 heavens Ziren are needed? Jiushan Ziren is a sacred object for earth-based cultivators. Jiushan Ziren is also a top-level material for refining earth-based magic weapons. That's fine. The key is that Jiushan Ziren is the supreme soil for cultivating spiritual medicines, and it is most suitable for the growth of spiritual medicines. The 10,000-year-old medicine king, the 100,000-year-old medicine emperor, and the million-year-old immortal medicine have extremely slow growth cycles. But if they grow in Jiushan Ziren, the cultivation time can be shortened. It only takes 3,000 years for the immortal medicine to mature once. I'm rich. Lu Xuanji said, with Jiushan Ziren, I can grow dragon tooth rice. Although Jiushan Ziren is good, it consumes too many spirit stones. Xuanji said, you need to use spirit stones frequently to replenish nutrients for Jiushan Ziren. Otherwise, if the spiritual energy isn't sufficient for a long time, the grade of Jiushan Ziren will also decline. Then, Xuanji took him to stroll in the palace. The area of the palace is not large, and the furnishings are not luxurious, but the items contained in it are top-notch one after another. 9 heavens Ziren, 9 great spiritual veins, enlightenment tea seeds, supreme spiritual springs, etc. are all top-level items in the world of immortal cultivation. As for the ordinary goods, they are not enough to enter here. Coincidentally, Xiahou Daojun is also a top-level array master, and he has carved many array diagrams in the Chaos Hall. Some array diagrams have been activated and are running slowly, but more array diagrams have not been activated and are in a dead state. It takes the cultivator's soul, mana, and even blood essence to activate 1 or 2. After careful counting, there are 300 array diagrams, but only 10 of them are running. At this moment, I can only activate 10 formations in Chaos Palace, but it is enough to control Chaos Palace and escape from the pursuit of the Divine Transformation Cultivator. Xuanji said happily, there are too many formations here. If I want to fully exert their power, I must advance to the head AO stage. There are 2 formations here, which will be very helpful for me to advance to the nascent soul stage. I want to retreat. 10 years at the shortest and 20 years at the longest. After explaining for a while, Xuanji went to retreat and strive for the nascent soul stage. In Chaos City, with the divine transformation sitting in charge, it is the safest and most peaceful. There is no need to worry about the enemy intercepting the nascent soul here, which is relatively peaceful. At the same time, Xuanji also began to retreat and began to improve his cultivation. No matter how much cultivation, how many adventures, and how good luck, it is useless if it cannot be transformed into strength. At the same time, he used his heart blood to feed the gold-eating insects. Time passed little by little. In the 9th year, Xuanji's aura was surging, and he entered the 5th level of the Purple Mansion. In the 20th year, Xuanji's cultivation level improved again, and he entered the 6th level of the Purple Palace. After leaving the retreat, Xuanji was worried. 20 years have passed, why haven't I come out yet? Is there something wrong? Chapter 238, Fate. In the Chaos Hall, in the Medicine Garden, the soil is the 9 heavens zeroing, and Langaya rice is planted on it. In the Medicine Garden, there are towering trees, up to 30 meters high, covered with sword-like rice grains. On each tree, there are at least hundreds, or even thousands of Langaya rice, fruitful and fragrant. Looking at the Langaya rice growing in the Medicine Garden, it exudes a burst of fragrance. Taking a breath, the whole body feels comfortable, and the spirit is extremely comfortable. Just smelling the fragrance can eliminate some toxins in the body. The cultivation of Langaya rice requires 5-color soil, but the grade of 9 heavens zeroing is higher than that of 5-color soil. It is also irrigated by the superior spiritual spring, and nourished by the thunder key, and finally the Langaya rice is successfully planted. It is just that it is almost impossible to popularize and promote it. It is said that there are monks who have improved the seeds according to the characteristics of Langaya rice, and created Beiyang rice, Yuhuang rice, etc., which can be planted on a large scale, but the effect of spiritual rice is much worse than that of Langaya rice. Beiyang rice is only useful for key training monks. Yuhuang rice is only useful for foundation building monks and Purple Palace monks. After reaching the golden elixir stage, most of them are useless. But Langaya rice is of great benefit to Jiandan monks, Yuanying monks, and even monks who have not become immortals. Swish. Using the true key, they began to harvest the Langaya rice. As the harvest progressed, grains of Langaya rice were stored in the warehouse. As the harvest progressed, the Langaya rice tree began to wither, and then completely dwarfed, with leaves falling and trunks breaking, as if all the vitality was taken away in an instant, and it soon died. The branches of the big tree began to merge into the Jiushan ring, and suddenly the Jiushan collection law gave off a burst of fragrance. Then these lands also entered the fallow period. Jiushan also needs to accumulate vitality. If it is planted continuously, the soil will be damaged. After planting one crop, it needs to be cultivated to restore the vitality of the soil. Then, the Langaya rice was cooked and eaten. After the dragon tooth rice is cooked, it is like porridge but not porridge, like rice but not rice, with a strong power of creation in it, cleansing the body, and improving the potential of life. Eating dragon tooth rice can not only nourish the vitality, and improve the cultivation, but also improve the qualifications. Originally, he was a pure Yang Dao body, and his qualifications were considered top level. It was very difficult to improve one step, but eating dragon tooth rice, his qualifications were improved a lot. Eating dragon tooth rice, you only need to move your stomach slightly to digest it quickly. With the help of the void stomach, Xuanji digested the dragon tooth rice, and his appetite was increasing. He ate 3 dragon tooth rices in one meal, which is 30 kilograms of dragon tooth rice. In the past 20 years, with the help of the pure Yang Dao, top level spiritual roots, the top grade pure Yang pill, the void stomach, the pure Yang broken sword, and the dragon tooth rice bonus, the speed has been soaring, and the average level has been improved every 10 years, and 2 levels have been improved in 20 years. Even Xuanji felt that it could be faster, but he suppressed it. But, at this moment, the void flickered, and a fist-size bee appeared, with 6 pairs of golden wings on its back, flapping up and down, extremely cute. This is the gold-eating worm, or the gold-eating bee. The gold-eating worm is already at the 9th level of the Purple Palace, and it is only one step away from becoming a golden elixir. In 20 years, the gold-eating worm has risen from the 1st level of key training to the 9th level of the Purple Palace. This speed is so fast that even the human race's spiritual roots are ashamed of themselves. Since the gold-eating worm entered the Purple Palace, Xuanji tried to feed it with Daoji Xianjin. After eating only 1 gram of Xianjin, it felt full, and then it grew golden wings, and its whole body changed from its ugly state in the past to perfect. The gold-eating worm began to evolve. In order to make it evolve better, it was directly fed with 3 pieces of Bushian Qi. Then, it was left to fate. Maybe the gold-eating worm will break the shackles of race and become a golden elixir monster worm, becoming the first monster to enter the golden elixir, or it may fail to evolve, wasting many resources in vain. The evolution of life is full of uncertainty and various variables. As for the final evolution into a life form, it depends on luck. However, little guy, your combat power is a bit poor. You won't be another Xianmeng Ice Silkworm, Xuanji said speechlessly. The gold-eating insect has the 9th level of Purple Mansion, but it can't beat the human cultivator of the 9th level of Foundation Establishment. It can be seen how weak its combat power is. Forget it, I can raise a pet, at least it can be cute, Xuanji said with a smile. But, the gold-eating insect is happy, and there is joy in its expression. Xuanji sighed again. Bailinga is a 3-tailed fox. When she was born, she turned into a human form. In the key refining stage, she has wisdom that is not inferior to that of the human race. Her combat power can even cross levels. The ordinary human race Xianjiao will almost be defeated when they meet her. But the gold-eating insect is already the 9th level of Purple Mansion, but it cannot transform. At least it needs to enter the nascent soul to transform. As for the current wisdom, it is only equivalent to a newborn baby, and the IQ is too low. Many monsters can transform after eating the transformation pill, but the gold-eating worm is an exception. Even if it is fed the transformation pill, it cannot transform. The gap between the monster race and the monster race is too big, like heaven and earth. When I have time, I have to try it. I'll feed you the Emperor Flowing Paddle. Xuanji suddenly thought of the monster race's supreme divine object, which is the greatest help to the monster race. 20 years have passed. I wonder how Ancestor Jin is doing. There are 3 major tribulations in the impact of the nascent soul: heavenly tribulation, human tribulation, and life tribulation. At this time, Ancestor Jin should be going through the life tribulation. Suddenly, Xuanji felt his own ki changing and connected with Ancestor Jin. The next moment, his head was dizzy and he fell asleep. Oh no, I was affected by Ancestor Jin's life tribulation. Life tribulation can be understood as the tribulation of destiny or the tribulation of fate. Life tribulation is an illusory tribulation, and the tribulation occurs in the illusion. But life tribulation is also a real tribulation. Everything in the illusion will affect reality. In the Chaos Palace, in the secret room, Ancestor Jin's expression was twisted, and a trace of murderous intent flashed across his face. He had entered the illusion, and was also trapped in the illusion of the evolution of the life calamity. In the wilderness, boom boom boom. In the void, the calamity clouds were condensing, and the lightning of destruction was accumulating, as if to evolve death. Boom boom boom. The heavenly calamity descended. The sword in the woman's hand slashed out, breaking all laws with one sword, breaking the first heavenly calamity. The second heavenly calamity fell. The third heavenly calamity fell. The heavenly calamities, one after another, destroyed everything and tore everything apart. 9 consecutive heavenly calamities were all broken by that unknown Ancestor Jin. I finally broke the calamity and will become a Yuanying, but I seem to have forgotten something in the wilderness. A man looked happy, watching Ancestor Jin transcend the calamity. He seemed to have forgotten something, but he just couldn't remember it. But since he couldn't remember it, he didn't think about it. Chapter 239 Fate's Warning. The calamity dissipated, and a ray of light fell on Jin Laozu. Her aura was rising step by step, and entering the nascent soul stage. At this moment, a purple-clothed monk flew in the void, with a cold expression, and slashed at Jinzi with a sword. The purple-clothed man's aura was actually a spirit transformation. The purple clothed man gave Lu Xuanji a feeling that he could not defeat him, like an ant facing the sky. Jin Laozu, get out of the way. Lu Xuanji shouted. Jin Laozu noticed it and urged the sword to counterattack. But the purple clothed man just pointed his finger and Jin Laozu's life sword broke and her body was severely injured and fell to the ground. The gap between the nascent soul stage and the spirit transformation stage is too big. Even though her fighting power is against the sky, she still can't beat him. Lu Xuanji stepped forward and hugged the fallen Jin Laozu directly. Ancestor Jin coughed and said, he still chased after the ancestor of the Z family, Z Yunxiao. Z Yunxiao stood high in the sky, looking down at the two people, as if looking at two ants, and snorted with disdain. Jinzi, you can't escape. Sword mind. The divine mind surged, turning into a purple longsword, blocking the void. Ancestor Jin's expression moved, holding the escape talisman in his palm, hugged Lu Xuanji, and was about to escape. However, Ancestor Jin greatly underestimated the power of the divine transformation cultivator. Z Yunxiao smiled coldly, slashed with a sword, and the void was shattered, and the escape failed. The two were directly chopped out of the space. Ahem. Ancestor Jin laughed and said, Xuanji, we are going to die. Yes. We are going to die. Lu Xuanji smiled bitterly. It's me who has implicated you. The enemies of Zhongzhou have come to our door. We are going to die. Ancestor Jin smiled bitterly. I'm sorry. Ancestor Jin, don't say anything. Lu Xuanji said, this is our fate. Don't call me Ancestor Jin, call me Zia. Jinzi said, the first time I saw you, I was just curious about you, but after seeing you more often, I felt that you were a fool. But when you gave me the pure lotus, my heart was moved. Later, I felt that I fell in love with you. But my family feud has not been avenged, so what qualifications do I have to talk about love? Call me Zia. Zia. Lu Xuanji said. The next moment, Jinzi stepped forward, took the initiative to approach him, and kissed him. There was still blood on his lips. Haha, a crazy man and a resentful woman, it's a big show. Z Yunxiao sneered. Who is he? Lu Xuanji asked. His name is Z Yunxiao, from Zhongzhou. He is our ancestor of the god of transformation, and he is also my enemy who destroyed my Jin family. I thought I could be safe after escaping to the east wilderness, but it is still not safe at all. Ancestor Jin smiled bitterly and said, a great cultivator of the god of transformation, who became my human calamity and came to stop me from achieving the nascent soul. I'm very proud. But I don't understand why you are here. Z Yunxiao said, when we destroyed the Jin family, we couldn't root out the Jin family cultivators because of the rules of the human race, but we, the great masters of the god of transformation, joined forces to cast a curse. Once a cultivator with the blood of the Jin family attacks the nascent soul, we will sense it and kill the remnant. So that's how it is, you do things without any leaks. Jinzi sighed. He is so important to you, then I will kill him. Z Yunxiao swung his long sword horizontally and chopped Lu Xuanji's neck with one sword. Stop. Jinzi's eyes were bloodshot, and he activated the nascent soul to fight against the god of transformation. But the more he resisted, the heavier the pressure became. Crack. Crack. The bones of the old man Jin were shattered, his skin was cracked, and his body was covered in blood, but he couldn't move at all. He couldn't get up, couldn't move at all. He said he would be his backer, but he didn't protect him. The weak can't protect anything. The next moment, the sword stopped. Kneel down and beg me, and I will let him go. How about it? Z Yunxiao looked at Jinzi with disdain. Lu Xuanji wanted to say something, but couldn't. Okay. Jinzi's eyes gradually calmed down, and she knelt on the ground. She gave up her dignity. Z Yunxiao sneered. I lied to you. Swish. A flash of sword light passed by, and Lu Xuanji's head fell down, and he died on the spot. I'll kill you. Jinzi said angrily, but she was suppressed by the pressure of the incarnation, and it was difficult for her to move at all. Z Yunxiao laughed loudly, seeming to be very happy, and said with a sarcasm, Jinzi, you are a heavenly demon Dao body. If you can activate the Dao body and embark on the path of the heavenly demon girl, you will definitely be able to overcome life and death and embark on the path of the supreme. But you are so good. You directly sealed the heavenly demon Dao body and now watch your lover die. Do you have resentment in your heart? Release the resentment in your heart. Activate the heavenly demon Dao body. Use the evil thoughts of all living beings as food. And achieve the supreme heavenly demon Dao. Kill. Kill. Xuanji was angry, and her face turned black, as if she wanted to activate a strange origin in her body. Give up everything in exchange for supreme power. Wake up. At this moment, a voice came. Xuanji's blood-red eyes converged, and she saw Xuanji's head on the ground opened his mouth. So this is an illusion. This is a life disaster. Shatter. Xuanji raised her hand and pointed, and the whole world turned into pieces. At this moment, she was in retreat, impacting the nascent soul realm. In the Danshan, the golden elixir had disappeared, and turned into a nascent soul. Human calamity, life calamity, are all in the past. The only thing left is the heavenly calamity. As long as you pass the 9 heavenly calamities, you can completely enter the nascent soul stage. When she opened the door of the cave, she saw Xuanji. Xuanji. Zia. I dreamed about it. I dreamed about it too. Xuanji's tone was very cold. Although it was just an illusion. Although it was just an illusion. But she would never want to see such a scene again. Xuanji couldn't bear it anymore, so she rushed over and hugged each other, in close contact, as if they were going to merge into one. At this moment, it seemed that time had stopped. Feeling his body temperature, only the temperature of his body could dispel the coldness of the world. On a swing, a man and a woman leaned against each other, as if they were going to become eternal. Xuanji said, "It's great that you're alive. Zia, you actually have a second kind of Taoist body, the heavenly demon Taoist body." Xuanji asked curiously, how can a person have 2 physiques? Let's talk about these things later. Xuanji said, what do you think of the illusion in the life calamity? The life calamity may be a calamity for other giant and cultivators, but it is different for you. Xuanji said, you have condensed the 9 revolutions golden pill. You are a child of destiny. You are protected by the destiny of heaven and earth. Even heaven and earth don't want you to fall. So, with the help of the life calamity, an illusion is evolved. Everything that happens in the illusion may be a corner of your future destiny. This is fate warning you. Chapter 240, Heavenly Demon Body, Heavenly Demon Girl. Fate warns, this is the protection of the heavenly Dao. Just like a cultivator, before encountering danger, he will have a woman feel uneasy. If some children of luck encounter a catastrophe, the heavenly Dao will warn them in secret, so that they can escape the catastrophe. The 9 transformations of the golden elixir not only represent a strong combat power in the same realm, but also represent a glimmer of hope for becoming an immortal. It can be said that it is the most beloved child of the heavenly Dao, and the heavenly Dao does not want such a proud person to fall. Everything that happened in the fate catastrophe is not illusory, but a corner of the future. However, when I understand all this, the catastrophe may not be a catastrophe. Xuanji thought, no. In the illusion, there is no Chaos Palace. With the help of the Chaos Palace, even if there is a god chasing me, I can escape. At this time, she found some unreasonable things, some ignored parts. Flying Feather Daogen is an immortal who ascended to the immortal world. He transcended this world in the way of heaven. It is difficult to find any trace of him in the calculation of the way of heaven. It is difficult to find any trace of him in the cause and effect of the way of heaven. Xuanji said calmly, it is normal that the Chaos Palace did not appear in the illusion. At this moment, if I were to attack the heavenly tribulation and achieve the nascent soul, there would definitely be a god transformation attack. That would be dangerous. Xuanji said uneasily. Those enemies back then let the remnants of my Jin family go. I didn't find anything. Who would have thought that there was a curse in the bloodline that prevented the cultivators of my Jin family from advancing to the nascent soul? Then, he talked about the past. Back then, the Jin family was at its peak, with 3 god transformations, more than 300 nascent souls, thousands of golden cores, 100,000 purple mansion cultivators, 1 million foundation building cultivators, and tens of millions of key refining cultivators. As for ordinary mortals, there were 3 billion. Those enemies joined forces to destroy the Jin family, but they only killed the Jin family's Shenhua cultivators, Yuanying cultivators, most of the Jiandan cultivators, and a few Xianjiao. As for the lower level Zifu cultivators, foundation building cultivators, key training cultivators, and mortals, they didn't kill them at all. It's not that those enemies are kind, but the unspoken rules of the human race. If it is for the sake of competing for interests, killing and exterminating a family, killing a few thousand cultivators is nothing, and the human race's top leaders will choose to remain silent, because the world of cultivation is a world of killing, and a little killing is nothing. But if hundreds of thousands or millions of humans are killed, it will alarm some human ancestors and attract some ancestors to interfere. Those enemies can only be regarded as catching the big and letting the small go, destroying the Jin family's high-level cultivators and killing some low-level cultivators. As for the other low-level cultivators, they are mainly dispersed. At that time, Jinzi was able to escape from the destruction of the family because of this unspoken rule. At that time, Jinzi was just a foundation building cultivator, very inconspicuous. I didn't think much of it at the time, but I didn't expect those enemies to use the blood of the Jin family as an inducement to set up a cruel curse. This curse is called the infant slaying curse. This curse is deeply rooted in the blood. Whenever a Jin family cultivator attacks the nascent soul, the curse will be triggered, and they will be entangled in the fire of catastrophe and perish on the spot. Jinzi said, feeling a little sad. Cutting the grass and eradicating the roots, those enemies did things really well. Wait a minute, it seems wrong. I remember that in the illusion, when I achieved the nascent soul, I didn't attract the infant slaying curse. Xuanji said. It's not that I didn't attract the infant slaying curse, but the infant slaying curse couldn't do anything to me. Jinzi said. The 9-turn golden pill, also known as the indestructible golden pill and the immortal golden pill, can avoid curses. If I were only a 7-turn golden pill or an 8-turn golden pill, and I were trying to reach the nascent soul, I would definitely die under the infant slaying curse and turn into ashes, but I can condense the 9-turn golden pill, and the infant slaying curse can't do anything to me. The infant slaying curse couldn't kill me, but it also alarmed that divine transformation, so he came directly to destroy me. I'm just a nascent soul, but I attracted a divine transformation cultivator to chase me down. Thinking about it, it was a bit of a headache. It's difficult to deduce the future from certain current situations, but knowing certain future situations and doing reverse deduction can get accurate conclusions. In order to prevent the Jin family from rising again, those enemies set up the infant slaying curse to prevent any Jin family cultivators from entering the nascent soul. As long as they can't become nascent souls, a group of Jiandan cultivators simply don't bother to chase them down. But if a cultivator breaks the infant slaying curse, then a spirit transforming cultivator will come to hunt him down and kill him. It is almost impossible to solve this problem, unless Jinzi does not intend to break through the nascent soul stage. Is it impossible to break the infant slaying curse? Xuanji asked. It is not impossible to break through. The infant slaying curse will only last for 5,000 years at most and will dissipate. If a top level curse master takes action, he can also break the curse. Jinzi pondered. Breaking through the nascent soul stage is not difficult, and breaking the curse is not difficult either, but how to avoid being hunted down by the spirit transforming cultivator is the most difficult. How to confuse the secrets of heaven and deceive their perception. I don't want a spirit transforming cultivator to hunt me down all over the world. Confusing the secrets of heaven. Xuanji suddenly thought of something and said, I have a way to avoid the perception of the secrets of heaven. Where? Jinzi asked. Sword Island. Xuanji said. Sword Island is one of the ancient holy places. After countless years, many formations have been severely damaged, but some remaining formations can still kill gods. There, the destiny is chaotic, the cause and effect are chaotic, it is very difficult to calculate, and very difficult to sense. When you cross the calamity there, you don't have to worry about the enemies of the Jin family sensing it. That's the only safe place. If it's not safe there, I can't find any place. Okay, let's choose Sword Island, but how do we land on Sword Island? Jinzi raised another question. This is not difficult. I have a way to enter the Sword Island. Xuanji said. I just have a question. What is the heavenly demon Dao body? I didn't want to say it, but since you want to know, I'll tell you a thing or two. Xuanji hesitated, but still said, in ancient times, the heavenly demon invaded this world and fought a great battle with the ancient cultivators. In the end, they were repelled by the ancient cultivators, but they also left behind the inheritance of the demon Dao in this world. Some peerless monsters, based on the skills left by the heavenly demon and the immortal skills, embarked on the path of unity between immortals and demons, and gave birth to the 7 veins of demon Dao. Not only that, the heavenly demon also left behind the heavenly demon bloodline in this world. Many human cultivators have the heavenly demon bloodline, but most cultivators have thin bloodlines, and have almost no effect. When I was proving the golden elixir, a heavenly demon attacked, but was swallowed and refined by me. Not long after, the heavenly demon bloodline in my body was activated, and turned into the heavenly demon Dao body. After awakening the heavenly demonic body, I had no idea what this physique was like. I looked through all kinds of books, but couldn't find any corresponding records. In the incomplete memory inheritance, there were even methods to absorb negative emotions from humans, strengthen oneself, and improve cultivation, but I felt uneasy. I activated the immortal sword body to suppress and seal the heavenly demon's origin, but after I felt the nascent soul, it would be difficult to suppress it, causing the seal to break, the demonic energy to infect, and I completely turned into a heavenly demon girl later. You gave me the 7th rank pure lotus, and I suddenly had an idea that it was better to open it than to block it. With the help of the Liangyi sword art, a technique, Liangyi illusionary body, I cut out the green lotus clone. Chapter 241, Ambush on the road. Sitting upright on the bench, Xuanji spoke, talking about the heavenly demon Dao body, the yin yang illusion body, the heavenly demon girl, and the Kinglian clone. Hearing this, Xuanji looked in silence, and began to look through the memories of the pure yang sword's weapon spirit. This weapon spirit was like a living fossil, with complicated memories inside. He actually found some memories of the heavenly demon. The heavenly demon is formed by the condensation of the negative emotions of all living beings, condensed at will, representing blood, cruelty, viciousness, cunning, etc., almost representing the evil of human nature. The heavenly demon Dao body can sense various negative emotions, such as hostility, murderous intent, greed, fear, tension, resentment, etc. It can see through the evil of people's hearts, cannot sense love, only sense evil, and is easily suspicious, and finally gets stuck in a dead end. I do know some of the secrets of the heavenly demon Dao body. Xuanji spoke, talking about some of the shortcomings and deficiencies of the heavenly demon Dao body. So that's how it is. I can feel evil emotions, but not good emotions. I can feel the darkness of the world, but not the light of the world. Such a world is too dark. Xuanji said thankfully. Fortunately, I didn't awaken the heavenly demon body, otherwise I would have fallen into the path of evil. No one is perfect in terms of deeds, not heart. Saints will understand that it's not what a person thinks, but what a person does. The human heart can't stand the test. As long as the behavior is up to standard, he can be considered a good person. Xuanji smiled and said, omniscience is not necessarily happiness. Besides, the heavenly demon's omniscience is incomplete. Will there be any problem with the green lotus? Xuanji said worriedly. When I activated the yin-yang illusionary body and cut out the green lotus clone, I carried the emotion and the green lotus carried the reason. I carried the kindness of human nature, and the green lotus carried the evil of human nature. I carried the immortal sword body, and the green lotus carried the heavenly demon body. To a certain extent, I'm not the complete Xuanji. Only when the green lotus and I become one can we be the real Xuanji. At that time, I thought that the pure lotus was a 7th grade spiritual treasure, which was enough to carry my heavenly demon Dao body. Now it seems that there will be no problem. Xuanji said calmly, you don't have to trust anyone, but you have to trust yourself. People can deceive and doubt anyone, but they can't doubt themselves. Doubting yourself will shake your Dao heart. Xuanji nodded. Such doubts are meaningless. She still remembers that when she was trying to reach the 9th level of the golden core and was seriously injured, Kinglian helped her, took care of her inside and out, and looked for ways to save her. Such doubts are meaningless. After a few days of rest, the two left Chaos City and drove the flying boat towards the state of Chu. About 3 days later, Xuanji felt a little uneasy. She saw two sword lights coming from a distance. The sword lights flashed and chopped and killed. Xuanji waved his hand and took Xuanji into the Chaos Hall and drew his sword to fight back. Boom boom boom. The sword light flashed and the flying boat was shattered on the spot. They come with bad intentions. Xuanji's eyes turned cold. With two Yuanyings attacking, the situation was a bit tricky. She did not retreat but advanced, slashing at the blue-clothed monk with her precious sword. The blue-clothed Yuanying held the piercing awl in his left hand, which turned into a silver light and shot out. The precious sword flashed a cold light, and in an instant the piercing awl was cut into 2 pieces. The remaining power of the precious sword did not weaken at all, and continued to slash down. Not good. The blue-clothed Yuanying immediately threw out a shield to block the front. But the next moment, the sword flashed, and the shield shattered. The blue-clothed Yuanying threw out a long sword again, with white light flashing on the sword, and the Zhengjin key surging on it. One sword cuts the soul. Swish. But the sword light continued to slash down. It cut off the long sword. It slashed at the blue-clothed monk, and a bloodline appeared on his body, and his body shattered. Swish. A Yuanying appeared, turned into a stream of light, and fled away. But the next moment, a jar appeared, took away the nascent soul and suppressed it. Bang. At this moment, a sword light flashed and slashed at Xuanji's body. A set of armor appeared on Xuanji's body. The Dao pattern on the armor flashed, turning into a grey light to resist. The light was constantly shattered, and the last remaining force slashed at Xuanji's body. Xuanji was knocked out on the spot, spitting out a mouthful of blood, but it was just a mouthful of blood. Fight again. Xuanji raised the sword and slashed forward. The black-clothed monk was afraid, and turned into a light, to escape and ran away. Originally, he planned to kill a fat sheep. After all, according to the intelligence, she had just advanced to the nascent soul. Whether it was combat experience, magic skills, or magic weapons and secrets, there were still deficiencies. But in the actual battle, she was fast. In just 2 breaths, she slashed and killed a teammate, and captured his nascent soul. As for her, she just spit out a mouthful of blood. Seeing that he was no match for the enemy, the black-clothed monk turned into a streak of light and fled. Xuanji chased him, and after a fierce battle of 30 moves, he shattered his body, but his nascent soul escaped as a stream of light. Even Xuanji could not catch up with him. Ahem. After taking the elixir, he took out another flying boat, drove it, and disappeared. Not long after, a man in black appeared, recording the atmosphere here, and then wrote in the book, Xuanji of Chu State entered the false infant not long ago, killed the King Gai's engine in 3 moves, and captured his nascent soul, and killed the Hei's engine in 20 moves, and the nascent soul escaped. It is suspected that he condensed the 8-turn golden elixir, and has the qualifications of a god. The flying boat moved forward, but Xuanji entered the Chaos Palace party. You are injured. Xuanji stepped forward and asked, but saw that Xuanji's white clothes were stained with blood. His face was pale, and he seemed to be seriously injured. It's fake, just a lie. At this moment, Xuanji circulated his breath, and his face suddenly returned to normal. The bloodstains on his white clothes disappeared, and he became spotless again. I have the foundation of the 9-turn golden pill. If I face a Yuanying genius, I might get hurt, but the 2 enemies just now were just ordinary Yuanying cultivators. According to my calculations, I could kill them easily, but during the battle, I deliberately got hit, deliberately got injured, deliberately spit out a few mouthfuls of blood, and even deliberately let an enemy's Yuanying go. Just now during the battle, I felt that there were cultivators spying in the dark. The combat power I displayed was too strong, which was not good. It was also not good to be too weak. It was better to be appropriate. Too weak, countless tigers and wolves will pounce on me. But too strong is not good either. Whether a Yuanying cultivator achieves Yuanying at the 7th turn, the 8th turn, or the 9th turn, outsiders can hardly find out, unless the Yuanying cultivator tells them. But we can calculate the approximate range through the combat power of the same realm. If I show the foundation of the 9 transformation golden pill, I might be killed by a divine transformation cultivator the next moment. Geniuses are allowed to exist in this world, but Evaldos are not. Being half a step ahead of others will earn you courtesy. Being one step ahead will result in your being strangled. Chapter 242 Return to Sword Island. In the Chaos Hall, Xuanji was telling about his life experience. Xuanji was listening and felt like he had opened his eyes. He really didn't understand these things. In his eyes, fighting is to kill the enemy with all these means. Therefore, soldiers have heard of clumsy speed, but have not seen cleverness for a long time. At the moment of fighting, you should kill the enemy as quickly as possible and make a quick decision. Don't fight the enemy for 300 rounds in pursuit of the so-called artistic beauty and the beauty of battle. If you can kill the enemy in 3 moves, don't kill the enemy in 30 moves. You can kill the enemy before the enemy plays his trump card. Don't fight the enemy hard just to see the enemy's trump card. But now, Xuanji is telling him another truth. At the moment of fighting, you should properly hide your own strength. If you don't vomit blood, you should pretend to vomit blood. If you are not seriously injured, you should pretend to be seriously injured. You can still fight fiercely, but you should pretend to be about to die. This can better paralyze the enemy and lower the enemy's evaluation of you. Let the enemy underestimate you, and let the enemy look down on you, which can increase your own survival rate. Thank you, ancestor, for your advice. Xuanji nodded. But the next moment, his waist was twisted, and Xuanji said with a murderous look on his face, "What did you call me, Zia?" Xuanji said obediently, "I'm only over 450 years old, just over 100 years older than you." Xuanji said, "Don't call me ancestor, it makes me old. Maybe now, you think I'm a generation older than you, but after 1,000 years, our age difference will be very small. After 10,000 years, 100,000 years, the age difference will not exist. I know, I'm just used to calling you that." Xuanji said. "Slowly, you will get used to it," Xuanji said, with a hint of tenderness in her eyes. She has regarded Xuanji as a Taoist partner, as the most reliable partner on the road to cultivation. As for other things, she doesn't care, and she doesn't care. At her level, the so-called etiquette, right and wrong, good and evil, etc., are all determined by the heart. The flying boat was moving forward, and the next journey was much safer. When it arrived at Chu State, it did not go home, but stopped in a small town. Is there anything mysterious here? Xuanji looked at the town, and found nothing strange. I got a pure yang order, which allows us to enter the Sword Island, Xuanji said, taking out a token. The token was engraved with the word pure yang. It looked ordinary, but it had a majestic aura that suppressed the world. Buzz! Exclamation mark. Activating the token, the light on the token flashed, and the light enveloped Xuanji. Xuanji also stepped forward and grabbed Xuanji's hand. Holding the hand of the beauty, Xuanji flashed a faint excitement. After the light lasted for 10 seconds, the two disappeared. The void changed, and the moment they appeared again was on the Sword Island. It's so dilapidated here. Xuanji sensed the surroundings. This is the Sword Island, but there is no vitality, no human habitation, and even no death. There is only desolation and dilapidation, and endless depression. Sense the surroundings again. It is said to be the Sword Island, but in fact it is a continent, a suspended continent. This is the ancient Sword Island. There must be a great adventure, Xuanji said happily. No more. Nothing. Xuanji laughed and said, time is the enemy of all things. Under the scouring of time, a genius is forgotten, and the ancient magic will wither. The ancient formation that could kill immortals in the past is only the power of the gods. In the medicine garden, many spiritual medicines and immortal medicines have all turned into medicine ashes. Even some weapons are dilapidated and will break at the touch. Everything has a lifespan. Of course, you can try to find some adventures afterwards. If you encounter them, you will make a fortune. But now the main thing is to survive the tribulation. Xuanji nodded, said no more, and directly triggered the tribulation. This is the best place to survive the tribulation. If this place doesn't work, there is no other place. Boom boom boom. On the Sword Island, lightning flashed, and a large cloud of tribulation gathered, covering the void for hundreds of miles. The stronger the foundation of the cultivator, the stronger the power of the tribulation. Because of the 9th transformation of the golden elixir, Xuanji's tribulation is also extremely fierce, far exceeding the previous tribulation. Don't worry. Jinzi's face was calm and his expression was indifferent. The heavenly tribulation is the last stage of achieving the nascent soul. This stage is very difficult, but also the easiest. It all depends on the changes in the heavens. Watch me overcome the tribulation, Jinzi said, stepping to the height of Bazan and confronting the heavenly tribulation head on. The first heavenly tribulation came, and its power was only a blow from the peak of the golden core, but the dazzling light and endless lightning illuminated an area of 100 miles. Whoosh! Jinzi opened his mouth and sucked it, and suddenly the endless lightning entered his body like food, being slowly refined, and his body made crackling sounds. After 3 breaths, the second heavenly tribulation came. There was fire in the lightning, which was the thunder and fire tribulation. The power was increased by 5 levels again. Jinzi still did not change his face, and opened his mouth to swallow it again, swallowing the thunder tribulation alive, completely erasing and digesting all the tribulations, and tempering the immortal sword body. The third heavenly tribulation came, and the wind and fire were mixed together in the tribulation, and the power of the tribulation was increased again, reaching the level of the fake infant. Jinzi's color only changed slightly, but she still opened her mouth to swallow the calamity. Everyone in the world is afraid of calamities and wants to avoid them. In her eyes, calamities are just food. Calamities are falling, one after another. When it comes to the 6th one, Jinzi can't swallow the heavenly calamity alive. Instead, she uses her secret technique to continuously refine the heavenly calamity, and uses the power of thunder and fire, wind, and fire in it to temper her body. Boom boom boom. The 7th heavenly calamity fell, comparable to a blow from the first level of the nascent soul. Jinzi urged her swordsmanship to break it. The 8th heavenly calamity fell, comparable to a blow from the peak of the second level of the nascent soul. Jinzi broke it again. The 9th heavenly calamity fell, comparable to a blow from the peak of the third level of the nascent soul. Jinzi urged her swordsmanship to slash and kill, and the heavenly calamity was broken and dispersed. But her breath fluctuated, and she was injured for the first time. Just when she thought the calamity was over and about to leave, the calamity clouds in the sky condensed and turned into 5-colored calamity clouds. Blue thunder clouds, black thunder clouds, red thunder clouds, white thunder clouds, and yellow thunder clouds intertwined with each other, using water to generate gold, using earth to generate wood, using wood to generate fire, and using fire to generate earth. The 5 elements circulate, and the 5 elements are born and die. Wood god thunder, Wu earth god thunder, Kui water god thunder, Jeng gold god thunder, Bing fire god thunder. The 5 great divine thunders condensed and turned into a terrifying calamity, descending. Under this calamity, the power is comparable to a blow from the 5th level of the nascent soul. Boom boom boom. Suddenly, the 5-element divine thunder submerged everything, and submerged Jinzi. When the calamity dissipated, there was only a charred body on the ground, like a dead tree. Chapter 243 Human Robbery. There was a charred body on the ground. It was Jinzi. At this time, she was seriously injured and dying. Only in the source of life, there was still a trace of vitality. A ray of good fortune fell from the sky, covering her body, repairing her injuries, and even breaking, and then standing up, moving towards rebirth in destruction, and moving towards recovery in ruins. In just a moment, the charred parts of her body fell off, revealing a flawless white body, like a beautiful jade. After 10 breaths, the injuries were healing. Jinzi jumped up, put on her clothes, closed her eyes, and absorbed the insights of the heavenly tribulation. The heavenly tribulation is a disaster, but it is also good fortune. If you can understand something in the heavenly tribulation, your cultivation will be further improved. Most cultivators who have achieved the Yuanying stage will only suffer 9 heavenly tribulations. It seems that Jinzi had an accident and the 10th heavenly tribulation came. It was a bit fierce, but she still survived. Jinzi's cultivation level can compete with the 3rd level of the nascent soul, but he is not strong enough to face the 4th level of the nascent soul, and he is obviously no match for the 5th level of the nascent soul. When the 10th heavenly tribulation descended, Jinzi was obviously no match. In fact, he did not need to resist it, just to resist and not die. Although the 10th heavenly tribulation had the attack power of the peak of the 5th level of the nascent soul, after all, the attack was scattered. Xuanji only needed to protect the Danshan, heart, sea of consciousness and other important parts. As long as he was not killed in one blow, he could survive the tribulation and turn danger into safety. If he really faced a cultivator of the 5th level of the nascent soul, the attack was concentrated and attacked Xuanji's vital parts, which might not be able to withstand it, and he might be killed in one blow. To put it bluntly, the heavenly tribulation was still not as good as the cultivator. The attack of the heavenly tribulation was not as agile, changeable, and accurate as the cultivator's attack, which was a ray of hope. The light on Xuanji's body was flashing, and his aura was rising. There was a sharp sword energy rising, and there was an immortal aura rising. The two auras intertwined and transformed into the essence of the immortal sword body. Xuanji stood guard at the side, carefully on guard. After the heavenly tribulation, it is also the best time to comprehend. If you miss this period of time, the loss will be great. Zhang Sao, the Zi family, the Yun family, and other families felt restless and uneasy. But after careful calculation, they found that everything was blurry. He continued to calculate, but it was still blurry. Zi Yunxiao took out the Xuanji disk and began to deduce, but it was still blurry. Strange, it seems that there is a sense of uneasiness. Obviously, a strong enemy is rising. But who is this strong enemy? Zi Yunxiao frowned. Could it be the family that was wiped out in the past, and a cultivator is rising to threaten the Zi family? No, the infant slaying curse did not warn. Could it be that the demon lineage is going to rise up, or the demon lineage is going to give birth to a peerless giant? Or are those hostile families going to give birth to monsters? On the road to the rise of the Zi family, there are many dangers and powerful enemies. Some enemies are very weak, just a few Yuanying. Some enemies are very powerful, with Huashan sitting in the command. Some enemies are very terrifying, and even have Liangsu strongmen sitting in the command. These enemies are numerous and chaotic, and this is the situation faced by the Zi family, surrounded by powerful enemies, and in a critical situation. As long as there is a desire to become stronger, you will encounter challenges, threats, and so on from all sides of powerful enemies. The Zi family also has enemies. It's just that some enemies are not worth taking action, such as those Yuanying families, which are used by some families to disgust the Zi family. Killing them has little benefit, but it will cause trouble. There is also the Zi family, which has conflicts and disputes with the Liangsu family, but it is mainly limited to the middle and lower levels. The upper level has no intention of breaking up and fighting, and maintains fighting without breaking. The real enemy is just those three families. At this moment, a strange breath enveloped Zi Yunxiao, and Zi Yunxiao entered the illusion. Not good. There is a cultivator going through the tribulation, and I will become his human tribulation. At this moment, Xuanji felt uneasy. Because of the grey light, Xuanji's expression became dull, and she entered the illusion. This is the precursor to the opening of the human calamity. Hasn't she survived the human calamity? How can there be a human calamity? It turns out that this is the real human calamity, and the number of people is not as good as the sky. Xuanji flashed a trace of anxiety, but it turned into helplessness in an instant. Human calamity, you can only rely on yourself. The heavenly calamity is the most cruel, the fate calamity is unpredictable, and the human calamity is changeable. The heavenly calamity is simple and rough, with thunder, fire, and calamity wind descending. The 7th calamity is comparable to the peak of the 1st level of the nascent soul. The 8th calamity is comparable to the peak of the 2nd level of the nascent soul. And the 9th calamity is comparable to the peak of the 3rd level of the nascent soul. The calamities are more fierce than the last, but the power of the calamities can mostly be predicted and speculated. As long as you are strong enough, you can survive the calamity, like Xuanji. If you are not strong enough, you can take a few more spiritual treasures and use them to block the calamity. There are two ways to survive the heavenly calamity. One is to resist it with strength, and the other is to spend money to survive the calamity. As long as you have one of the two, you can survive the calamity. Only those cultivators who are not strong enough and lack money will die in the heavenly tribulation. Fate is unpredictable, and it is unknown what kind of tribulation will happen under the pull of fate. As for the human tribulation, it was once thought that the human tribulation had been overcome, but who would have thought that this was the real human tribulation? Shrouded in grey mist, Xuanji fell into the human tribulation. The illusion was changing. As the mist dissipated, a purple mountain appeared in front. On the mountain peak stood an old man wearing a purple robe, with no extra expression on his face. He was not happy with things or sad with himself. It seemed that the birth and death of all things could not cause a change in his mood. Xuanji. Xuanji gritted her teeth. In a trance, she thought of the memory of hundreds of years ago. At that time, she was just a foundation building cultivator, and Xuanji led the strong men to besiege the Jin family. In the fierce battle, her father was killed. At that time, she could only flee in panic. Xuanji was high above, too lazy to look at her. It didn't matter whether she was just an ant or not. Hey, I actually became a certain cultivator's calamity. You have the blood of the Jin family. You seem to be the daughter of that old ghost of the Jin family. You have actually entered the nascent soul stage. Not bad. Your aptitude is not bad, but it's just not bad. Xuanji looked at this scene with a calm expression. Just a little calculation. He figured out the cause and effect and guessed Xuanji's identity. Kneel down, I will grant you a death. Xuanji said indifferently, and the pressure of the incarnation of the god was suppressed. But suddenly, the air condensed, and endless pressure suppressed. Xuanji's face flushed, and her skin seemed to be dripping with blood, but she just stood and didn't kneel. Crack. At this moment, her legs broke. She would rather break her legs than kneel down. Your courage is commendable, but your strength is too weak. I will grant you a death. Xuanji pointed his finger and turned into a purple starlight and was about to kill this remnant of the Jin family. As for her name, he was too lazy to ask. The name of mere ant is not worth remembering. Buzz. At this moment, Xuanji's aura was rising, starting from the first level of nascent soul, the second level of nascent soul, the third level of nascent soul, the fourth level of nascent soul, and directly rising to the second level of spiritualization. The aura was slightly inhaled and exhaled, breaking the purple starlight. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 244. The two elements unite as one, fighting the god. The void was changing, and Xuanji's aura was constantly soaring, and it increased tenfold, entering the second level of the spiritualization. Powerful, incomparably powerful. In terms of mana, it was only 10 times higher than that of the nascent soul. In terms of physique, it was only 3 times higher than that of the nascent soul. In terms of speed, it was only 4 times higher than that of the nascent soul. In terms of attack, it was only 3 times higher than that of the nascent soul. But the combination of mana, physique, speed, attack and many other factors made the spiritualization cultivator extremely terrifying. Just one move could kill the former self in seconds. Even if 100 nascent soul cultivators came to besiege, they would be killed in a dozen moves. The gap was too big. At this moment, Xuanji somewhat understood Xuanji's eyes just now. In front of the spiritualization, the nascent soul cultivators were just ants. Hey, is this the human calamity? It directly raises your cultivation to the second level of the god transformation, which is the same level as mine, but it's not enough, still not enough. Xuanji's face changed, less contempt, but with a hint of solemnity. It's a pity that you only have the realm of the god transformation, but not the Taoism of the god transformation, and no perception of the god transformation. It's like a baby suddenly grows bigger and turns into a giant baby. Even if it has the strength and speed that are not inferior to that of middle-aged man, it is still not enough to send you to death today. Purple fire destroys the world. The palm of his hand pinched the seal, and the speed was extremely fast. In just a breath, a purple sky fire was formed, which turned into a cloud and swept over. Kill. Xuanji urged the sword light flashed, and chopped on the purple fire, but it seemed to chopped on the void. Not only did it not break the purple flame, but the purple flame swept and wrapped Xuanji's body. Kai. The purple flame was running, constantly melting and burning. Xuanji activated his sword skills and slashed out 3 times in a row, but he was helpless. Instead, His vitality was fading away bit by bit, and once he reached a certain critical point, he would definitely die. Swish. Xuanji activated the immortal sword body, and suddenly his body emitted a golden light, and the aura of immortality surged. A golden light film formed outside his body, resisting the refining of the purple fire. Purple Sun Sky Fire has been perfected. Sky Fire overcomes gold. It only takes 10 breaths for you to be burned by the Sky Fire and turned into ashes. Xuanji said coldly, "Answer ants after all. Even if they have obtained the power of transformation, they have no Taoism and are just giant babies." Sizzle. Sizzle. The purple sun sky fire was burning, and Xuanji's face changed, with a hint of impatience and unwillingness flashing across his face. She was only a nascent soul. With the help of the special environment here, she temporarily had the power of the god transformation, but it was not hers after all. Not only was her cultivation insufficient, it was difficult for her to control the power of the god transformation, but she also lacked some top-level magical powers to suppress herself and attack and kill the enemy. She was suppressed and refined with just one move. Was she going to die here? Unwilling. Summon the Blue Lotus avatar. Xuanji's mind moved, and she summoned a certain existence. A green light flashed, and a blue lotus entered the center of her eyebrows. The aura on her body was raised again, and her magic power was raised by more than 3 levels. Not only was her magic power raised, but her physical strength was also greatly improved. She seemed to have a new understanding of the great Dao and the laws of the world. But, at this moment, a black gas surged above her body, and her body became enchanting and beautiful, exuding endless charm, seducing souls, as if a demon girl had descended into the world. Just a frown and a smile could attract the inner demons of countless men, and they all surrendered to her feet. The next moment, he became heroic again, with a sharp sword energy, tearing everything apart and destroying everything. The 2 physical bodies, the heavenly demon body and the indestructible sword body, were constantly changing, and his personality was also changing. The 2 yin and yang are born and die. The rational me is me, the emotional me is me, the indestructible sword body is me, the heavenly demon body is me, the original Xuanji is me, the Kingian clone is me, and I'm me. Xuanji suddenly realized something, and the 2 conflicting physical bodies temporarily merged together, and no longer repelled each other. Where there is good, there is evil. Where there is good, there is bad. Where there is male, there is female. Where there is yin, there is yang. Where there is life, there is death. Where there is black, there is white. I used to be afraid of the heavenly demon Dao body, so I sealed it. Later, I even peeled it off and cut out the green lotus incarnation. I thought that in this way, I could seek the great Dao without asking for interference from the outside world. Don't you know that fearing the heavenly demon Dao body is fearing yourself, fearing the dark side of your soul, and not daring to face your heart? Whether it is the former original Xuanji or the current me, they are all incomplete. Only now that the 2 are united, is the real me. Boom boom boom. In the sea of fire, Xuanji's body suddenly burst out with terrifying power, and a green lotus appeared behind him. 9 leaves were dancing up and down, and the roots were stuck in the flames, devouring the flames. The endless purple fire disappeared, and turned into nutrients for the green lotus. The body became tall. The thin and close-fitting clothes matched her devilish figure, outlining a breathtaking perfect curve, like a witch, but on her pretty face, with a heroic spirit, a blue lotus bloomed between her eyebrows. Her beautiful eyes were as sharp as swords. Her aura was immortal, and her aura penetrated the past and the present. At her heart, there was a yin-yang fish rune. The aura she exuded was even more powerful than Xuanji. You have become so much stronger. Xuanji was slightly surprised. I can't let you stay. His footsteps flashed, and he turned into a stream of light and rushed forward. His palm turned into an eagle claw, tearing towards Xuanji's neck. With this claw, the speed was extremely fast, like a goshawk swooping down. Xuanji did not retreat, but stepped forward and pointed his finger out. The finger turned into a sword, cutting sharply. Swish. In the fierce friction, Xuanji's body changed, floating like a cloud, avoiding the sharp sword finger, and suddenly appeared behind him, slapping his younger generation with one palm. Xuanji's body flashed and dodged, but he was still a beat slower, and was hit on the back. He spat out blood on the spot. Xuanji was not willing to give in. He stepped forward and continued to slap Jinzi's head. Jinzi took a step forward and did not dodge. Instead, he pointed his finger at his danshan, trying to break his yuanshan with one finger. If he attacked, both sides would suffer. Xuanji changed his body shape again and slapped his palm. Boom boom boom. The two of them confronted and fought together. In the battle, Xuanji had the upper hand everywhere and hit Jinzi hard many times. Jinzi fought back fiercely, but he was still defeated and suffered heavy injuries in many places on his body. However, his fighting spirit was boiling, and his wounds were healing quickly. In the blink of an eye, 100 moves had passed. Xuanji's aura was strong and murderous, and his moves became more and more ruthless, killing people with every move. On the contrary, Jinzi's hair was disheveled, and her body was severely injured in many places. The blood stained her white skirt red, almost turning it into a red skirt, but her fighting spirit was increasing. What a strong fighting spirit. She is getting stronger step by step. She has a special physique that can quickly heal injuries. As long as she is not killed in one move, she can continue to become stronger in the battle. The more they fought, the more surprised Xuanji was. At the beginning of the game, he suppressed Jinzi with one move and was about to kill her. But later, after fusing with the Blue Lotus, his aura continued to grow stronger. The remnants of the Jin family actually gave birth to such a genius. You are respectable and formidable, but you have no future. Xian's divine will destroy you. Xuanji let out a long roar and urged the secret technique. Immediately, a purple cloud appeared behind him, turning into a stream of light, drowning Jinzi. Chapter 245, Understanding the Devil's Will and Surviving the Tribulation. Woo woo woo. The purple clouds, with endless mist and strange changes, swept over and submerged Jinzi. The purple clouds were twisting and wiping away Jinzi's body. Just one breath, half of the body was wiped away. Another breath, half of the body was wiped away again. Only a head was left, suspended in the void. Woo woo woo. The purple clouds were sweeping and were about to wipe away the rest of the head. I'm not willing to accept this, Jinzi said unwillingly. How can I be willing to die before my family feud is avenged? How can I be willing to die before I become a Taoist partner with Xuanji? Endless unwillingness rose. Above the head black demonic energy rose up and turned into endless demonic light. The demonic light was surging, and it actually resisted the annihilation power of the purple clouds. Endless demonic energy surged and evolved into a demonic land. In the Devil's Land, there is darkness, death, coldness, ghosts, evil, cruelty, blood, violence, destruction, despair, coldness, etc. The evil of human nature gathers together, as if interpreting the evil of all living beings. The world is not worth it. It is better to destroy it. The world is not worth it. It is better to destroy it. The world is not worth it. It is better to destroy it. At this moment, endless resentment rises in the heart, and Jinzi's eyes turn blood red. Snap. Snap. Even the purple luck around is being eroded and stained, turning into nutrients for the Devil's Land. Originally, there was only a head left, but as the energy in the Devil's Land was infused into the head, a brand new body grew under the head. After 3 breaths, the purple cloud dissipated. Puff. Xuanji spat out a mouthful of blood, and a trace of horror flashed in his eyes. This is the Devil's Will. You actually condensed the Devil's Will, the vast Devil's Land, and devoured my divine will, the sky full of purple clouds. I have to thank you for this. As a thank you, I will give you a death. With flashing footsteps, Jinzi attacked and killed. The vast Devil's Land behind her turned into a divine will, sweeping over and suppressing her. Life and death are in a thought. In the last moment, if she had not comprehended the Devil's Will, the vast Devil's Land, she would have died. She threw 27 punches in a row, like a rainstorm. Xuanji waved his hand and punched, surrounded by purple clouds, majestic and majestic. Bang bang bang. The void made a dull sound. Xuanji retreated 10 steps. Jinzi also retreated 10 steps. This was the first time they had fought to a draw. Jinzi's momentum condensed, the Devil's energy condensed, and the surroundings turned into black wind and snow. He rushed forward, and his punch was like a landslide, breaking the soul, and ending life and death. What an arrogant young man. Take it, Kyankan Annihilation Palm. The murderous aura in Xiangxiu's eyes was gathering, and the aura of his body was rising. When it reached the peak, both palms came out together, turning into a golden palm print. The golden palm print absorbed the power from all around, and instantly burst out with 3 times the power, slamming down. The confrontation between monks is not only about combat skills, combat experience, and strong mana, but also about who has the strongest explosive power, who can destroy the world with one blow, and destroy the strong enemy with one blow. Kill. Xuanji took a step forward, waving his fist, and slamming down continuously. Under the huge impact force, his body was constantly retreating, his arms became bloody, and his injuries were getting worse. Blood was scattered on the ground, dripping. But the madness in his eyes did not change at all. If he is not crazy, how can he be a demon? Punch after punch, the previous punch was superimposed on the punch behind Xiao. The power was constantly superimposed. The ki on the fist was increasing. The devil's will was boiling, rising rapidly. When the 7th punch was thrown, a devil mountain appeared behind him. The devil mountain turned into amplification power. The amplification was on the flesh, and the originally exhausted breath was forcibly increased. Originally, the strength was exhausted, but he forcibly threw the 8th punch. Puff. The golden palm print was broken, and the fist continued to blast out, hitting Xuanji's chest, and his body flew backwards. Devil's will, the second devil's will. Xuanji's eyes flashed with horror. Purple Mansion cultivators can comprehend the changes of heaven and earth, the birth and death of the Great Way, and can condense strange phenomena when they reach the nascent soul period. If they have a deep understanding of strange phenomena, they can evolve strange phenomena into divine will. Divine will is a cultivator's understanding of the law and the prototype of the law. People without souls cannot live, gods without will die. Only by understanding the divine will can one be qualified to advance to the stage of transformation into a god. Among the 10 Yuanying people, only one person has condensed the divine will, which shows the threshold. But Xuanji is good, and he directly condensed the second divine will. It is not accurate to say that it is the divine will, but the devil's will. The righteous cultivators cultivate the divine will, the devil cultivators cultivate the devil's will, and the demon cultivators cultivate the demon's will. The devil's will is a state of mind of the demon cultivator's transformation into a god. Only the top demon cultivators can cultivate the devil's will. Swish. Swish. The next moment, Xiangxiu's body was torn into 2 pieces, and the scene was bloody and violent. Kill Xuanji today, destroy the Z family tomorrow, and kill all the members of the Z family. Those top cultivators can be killed, but the lower level cultivators are so innocent that they must not be killed. Not right, not right. If I don't kill all the cultivators of the Z family, if the Z family gives birth to another genius, it may bring a catastrophe to my descendants. I must kill all the members of the Z family. Xuanji thought. 2 thoughts were fighting. Angels and demons were fighting. Reason and emotion were fighting. But after a long time, Xuanji exhaled a foul breath and felt relieved. The devil's intention was forcibly suppressed. After all, I'm not an orthodox demon cultivator, not a lawless cultivator, and I still have scruples in my heart. If it is time to destroy the Z family tomorrow, I will definitely kill the high level cultivators. As for the lower level cultivators and civilians, I will let them go. Xuanji said firmly. Immortal cultivators and demon cultivators don't look at what they say, but how they do it. Immortal cultivators have a bottom line for killing. They may kill the whole family and the whole world, but they will not affect civilians and low-level cultivators. Demon cultivators kill the whole family. They will not only kill high-level cultivators, but also low-level cultivators and low-level civilians. Click, click. The illusion dissipated. Xuanji opened his eyes, but saw Xuanji's worried eyes. The haze in his heart dissipated, and he stepped forward and said, "Thank you. Have you survived the human calamity?" Xuanji asked. "Not only did you survive it, but you also killed a former powerful enemy." Xuanji smiled and said, "I like human calamities. If it were normal time, I would need to practice for 1,000 years before I could advance to the stage of transformation and kill this enemy. But this human calamity gave me a chance for a fair duel. With the help of human calamity, I killed the former powerful enemy. A gentleman's revenge is not too late even after 10 years, of course. He is determined, but there is no woman who takes revenge from morning to night, straightforward and direct. The calamity happened in the illusion. This is an illusory calamity, but also a real calamity. Everything in the illusion will affect reality. In the illusion, she killed Xuanji. In the real world, Xuanji will suddenly die inexplicably. Death in the illusion will really kill you in reality. Chapter 246, 7th floor of Purple Mansion. Human calamity is the most unpredictable. There was a cultivator who stayed in the mountain gate to avoid human calamity and had to rely on the mountain gate formation to avoid human calamity. But one day 10 years later, he died silently in the illusion of heaven. Human calamity is extremely dangerous, and countless peerless monsters have died in it. But after surviving the human calamity, the benefits are also huge. Recalling the scene of the fierce battle with Xuanji in the illusion, it can be said that he was a life and death struggle. But after killing Xuanji, not only did he avenge the old grudge, but he also plundered his memory and luck. The memory of a transformed god can be said to be a great treasure, which can help her avoid some big pits on the way forward. The luck of a transformed god is also extremely strong, and it can be given to her. Such an opportunity can be said to be hard to find in 1,000 years. First of all, the strong men of the transformed gods are all big men who sit in one side. Whether it is connections or strength, they are first class. Without a suitable reason, even the strong men of the refining virtual can't do anything to the transformed gods. Even if they did, the powerful spirit transformation masters had corresponding means of survival and were difficult to kill. But in the illusion, the possibility of running away was cut off. Secondly, Xuanji was only at the first level of the nascent soul, and it would take 1,000 years of hard training to enter the spirit transformation. Even if she entered the spirit transformation, she might not be able to kill Xuanji. During this 1,000 years, Xuanji was also improving, and might become even more powerful. But in the illusion, Xuanji's cultivation was forcibly raised to the second level of the spirit transformation, and in a fair environment, she killed Xuanji. In fact, only in such a special environment can a first level nascent soul kill a second level spirit transformation. Xuanji talked about everything that happened in the illusion, and only said that she killed a spirit transformation. As for the name of this spirit transformation and his origin, she chose to remain silent and could not say. Her intuition told her that once she said the name of that person, she would bring about a great disaster. Xuanji nodded and did not ask carefully, but in her perception, Xuanji's cultivation was improving, and her luck was also improving. Congratulations, you have entered the nascent soul stage, Xuanji said with a smile. Nascent soul is just the beginning. I can't say whether I can become an immortal, but I'm sure that I can become a god, Xuanji said with a smile. That's good. My backing is more solid, Xuanji said with a smile. Let's go back now. No, we might be able to find some treasures on Sword Island, Xuanji said, with an excited look on his face. I don't think there is any hope, because I have searched here for a long time, and didn't find anything, Xuanji said, but I hope you have better luck. Xuanji didn't believe in evil, and began to search on Sword Island, trying to find treasures. As a result, after searching for 5 years, it was still empty. Everything no longer existed. On Sword Island, many formations were breaking, and the void continent was also breaking. It was estimated that it would last for more than 10,000 years at most, and then this island would be swallowed by the void turbulence, completely turned into fragments, turned into dust, and dissipated in the world. After failing to find the treasure, Xuanji began to retreat on Giant Island, comprehending and summarizing some memories and insights, and sorting out his cultivation. There were only 2 people on Giant Island. At the beginning, they still observed etiquette with each other, but as time went by, their relationship became closer. They kept talking and tasting all kinds of flavors, and often snuggled together, just one step away. Several times, when Xuanji was about to be unable to bear it, he was stopped by Xuanji. Because the difference in cultivation was too big, one was at the 6th level of the Purple Mansion and the other was at the 1st level of the Nascent Soul, they could not break the difference at all. If they forced a relationship, Jinzi would not care, but Lu Xuanji would hurt his vitality. Time passed, and 10 years passed in the blink of an eye. Boom boom boom. Lu Xuanji's cultivation changed, and he stepped into the 7th level of the purple mansion, and counted with his fingers. He was already 320 years old. Zia, I miss home, I miss the elder, I miss Lu Xuanji said. I want to be with you like this for a long time. Jinzi leaned against him, smelled his scent, listened to his heartbeat, and said with a hint of sadness, but let's go back. Okay. Lu Xuanji nodded. Activating the pure yang order, the two disappeared after 10 breaths. When they appeared again, they were in that small town, in that courtyard. With their fingers interlocked, Jinzi said, why don't you live with me? Lu Xuanji said domineeringly, impossible, how can I, Lu Xuanji, be a gigolo? Or, I'll live there. Jinzi said. Ahem, no. Lu Xuanji said, our relationship must be kept secret. Got it, I won't disturb your little wife. Jinzi said. Having said that, he stepped forward and kissed her again. With reluctance, Jinzi left. Lu Xuanji nodded and disappeared with his flying sword. He's back at the Lu family again, and he wants to see his little wife Yuanai as his wife. As for me, what am I? Looking into the distance, Jinzi flashed a hint of jealousy. She knew that Lu Xuanji had other women in his heart, and was still concerned about certain people. But she didn't care. How could a phoenix be jealous of a sparrow? And how could a blue dragon survive a catastrophe for a grass snake? Would she compete with those women for favor and fight in the palace? No need, no need. Time passed and waited until 100 years later, or 1000 years later, those female cultivators turned into yellow earth. Only she could still accompany him, and seek the great way together. Why be jealous? There was no need. But the faint concern in Lu Xuanji's heart made her flash a hint of jealousy and unnaturalness. I still can't be magnanimous. I still overestimated my state of mind. I thought my state of mind was as solid as a rock, but I still overestimated myself. Jinzi smiled bitterly, with unspeakable bitterness and a hint of sadness in her heart. Zia, a little clingy. Lu Xuanji was speechless, and had a slight headache. Don't think about it anymore. You can't think about it. Thinking too much will destroy the relationship. The flying sword was flashing, and half an hour later, it was back to the Lu family. Activating the token, Lu Xuanji quietly entered the cave. At this time, in the eyes of many monks of the Lu family, the patriarch was retreating. There was already some dust in the cave. Washing the dust, cleaning the cave, the moment everything was cleaned up, then opening the cave, and feeling the sunlight outside. The monk guarding the door of the cave rubbed his eyes, thinking that this was not an illusion, and immediately stepped forward to greet him. Meet the patriarch. Is the Lu family okay? Lu Xuanji asked. The Lu family is fine, the monk said. Not long after, the bell rang. The monks of the Lu family gathered in the hall, and greeted the patriarch. Among the monks, Yuanai was seen. Lu Xuanji asked about the family situation, and elders came forward to report one after another. It was not until an hour later that the meeting ended and everyone dispersed. At this time, Yuanai came over and said, my husband, are you okay? I'm fine. Lu Xuanji said. Yuanai said, Zana, Faina, call me daddy. A man in green and a man in black knelt on the ground and greeted him. My son, I greet my father. Chapter 247 I have a son. Looking at the two kneeling men, Lu Xuanji felt like his brain was freezing and asked, are they my sons? Of course, they are your offspring. Yuanai said. Wait a minute, my head is a little confused. Lu Xuanji closed his eyes, trying to wake himself up. After about 5 breaths, he opened his eyes with a hint of uneasiness and anxiety on his face. He said, I've only been in seclusion for 30 years. How come I already have a son? We had 6, just before you went into seclusion. At that time, I planned to leave you with an offspring. 3 months later, I was pregnant. After about 3 years of pregnancy, they were born as twins. Later, they gradually grew up. They are twins, but they look different, and have different personalities. The eldest is lively and the second is calm. The eldest is named Luzan and the second is named Lufan. Wanai, why are you so impulsive? Your aptitude was relatively poor originally. Even if you have condensed the ice spirit roots, your aptitude is not very good. Giving birth to children for me will damage your origin. The moment of achieving the golden elixir will make it more difficult. Lu Xuanji did not look at the two sons on the ground, but stepped forward and held Yi Wanai's hand, saying softly, "Didn't I agree that you would give birth to me a child when you reach the golden elixir stage? Why are you so reckless?" Yi Wanai smiled and said, "Originally, I planned to give birth to a child for my husband during the foundation building period, but it was delayed. Now that I have reached the purple mansion, it is the best. I don't want to wait any longer. The family cultivates immortality. The family cultivates immortality. My husband doesn't even have a son. What do you mean by family cultivation? My husband, you often encourage the family cultivators to marry more Taoist companions, more concubines, and give birth to more descendants, but my husband only has me, not even a concubine, not even a son. My husband, this is a typical double standard, inconsistent words and deeds." Lu Xuanji was speechless. Looking at the two sons on the ground, the two sons were kneeling on the ground, their bodies trembling slightly. They felt strange and in awe of their father, but they didn't feel close to him. "Get up," Lu Xuanji said. The two stood up. Looking at his two older sons, Lu Xuanji suddenly felt like he was in a dream. "I was just out for a trip, and I was only out for 30 years. But when I returned home, I had two more sons. The sons have grown up, and they are all in their 20s. They can marry wives and concubines and have children. Lu Zion, Lu Fan, call me daddy. Dad. Call me daddy again. Dad." After calling several times in a row, Lu Xuanji said, "Remember to come to the cave house at night, and I will teach you a thing or two. As for now, I will get close to your mother first, and there are some things to discuss." After a moment of exhortation, he said goodbye to the two naughty sons and went to the cave house. A long separation is better than a new marriage. After 30 years of separation, it is a full joy. This kind of happiness, no matter how many love words you say, no matter how many I love you say, it is redundant. Only when they are integrated together, it is perfect reality. After a long time, it stopped. Lu Xuanji said, "Wanai, you are impulsive. I know. I can't compare to some people, so I will give birth to offspring for you and live in the memory of some people." Yi Wanai said, "Husband, I know you love me and have always wanted to improve my cultivation, want me to live forever, take me to the golden core, and even the nascent soul. But I know my weight and my qualifications, but I don't want to drag my husband too much. When I reached the late stage of the purple mansion, I realized the difficulty of impacting the golden core, and then I thought of leaving descendants for my husband." Touching Lu Xuanji's face, Yi Wanai said tenderly, "When testing the spiritual roots, if it is found to be ice spiritual roots, many cultivators will praise and rejoice, because ice spiritual roots are geniuses. But when it comes to the purple mansion realm, ice spiritual roots are nothing, very ordinary, very ordinary. Most of the cultivators who have entered the purple mansion are either second spiritual roots or different spiritual roots, and the mere ice spiritual roots are nothing." But over the years, she has grown very fast. At only 350 years old, she has entered the 9th level of the purple mansion. This speed surpasses many of her peers. However, all this comes at a price. She was asked to take the top grade pure yang pill continuously, and the 4th grade cleansing spirit lotus was also asked to take. Many descendants of the golden core did not have such treatment. As a price, Lu Xuanji delayed his cultivation time and gave up many things. His cultivation speed slowed down instead. Now he is only at the 7th level of the purple mansion. Wanai, here is a booklet that tells how to attack the golden core. You must remember it. Lu Xuanji thought of something and took out a booklet and handed it over. It describes how to attack the golden core. I know. Yi Wanai just glanced at it and put it aside. Husband, there is a good thing here and a bad thing. Then let's talk about the good thing first. Lu Xuanji thought. Yi Wanai said, Zana, it's a natural spiritual root. Yes, the eldest is a natural spiritual root. It seems that my Lu family is going to change, and there will be a successor. Lu Xuanji smiled happily. For any family, the birth of a person with a natural spiritual root means a guaranteed golden elixir. and because of the natural spiritual root, the cultivation speed is extremely fast, and there is a long time to polish the foundation. The probability of achieving the nascent soul is far beyond that of ordinary cultivators. But there is another bad news. Faina has 5 spiritual roots. Xuanji said. They were born at the same time. They are 27 years old this year. Xiana is already at the 6th level of key training. I have been suppressing him and letting him continue to polish his foundation. But Faina is only at the 2nd level of key training. They are brothers, but their qualifications are very different. The gap is huge. In my plan, I will focus on cultivating Xiana and give priority to supplying Xiana with various resources and strive to cultivate him into a golden elixir or even a nascent soul. As for Faina, his qualifications are poor and there is little value in training. At most, he can be trained to the foundation building stage. It is better to marry more wives and concubines, give birth to offspring, and continue his descendants. Now, Faina already has 3 wives, and they all have 3 spiritual roots. Xuanji spoke, talking about the arrangements for the 2 sons. They were born one after another, from the same mother, but because of their different talents, their future paths are very different. The strong fought east and west to protect the family, the weak reproduced offspring, to continue the family lineage. This is unfair to the second son. Xuanji said, those named Fan are all strong. I don't think our son is useless. What about the 5 spiritual roots? I will still cultivate him into a golden elixir. Back then, I lacked resources and my cultivation was shallow. I could only watch my mother and father sit in meditation, feeling extremely helpless. But now, I'm a rich man, and I must change Faina's fate, and ensure that he enters the golden elixir. As for Faina, he must cultivate immortality. I don't want to wait 100 years to see my son gray-haired and then sit in meditation. Chapter 248. The water is too deep. In the biological world, the higher the level of life, the lower the desire to reproduce, and the fewer offspring are born. The fertility rates of mice, sows, rabbits, etc. are amazing, but the fertility rates of giant pandas, tigers, humans, etc. are so low. In the world of immortal cultivation, the main force of cultivators' reproduction is mainly key training cultivators and foundation building cultivators. They are the bottom of the world of cultivation, and immortality is not something they can seek, so they focus on their offspring and family. They often have 3 or 5 Taoist companions, more than a dozen concubines, and more than 100 children. But after reaching the Purple Mansion, many cultivators are busy with the Tao and cultivation, and they don't even like beauty, let alone having children. Senior cultivators often start to marry and take concubines in the last few decades of their lives, and then give birth to offspring, but unfortunately they can't give birth. It's not just the difference in cultivation that causes reproductive isolation, it's also not easy for high-level life to give birth to offspring. So they had no choice but to sit in meditation, and after sitting in meditation, the treasure was left in the mountains, waiting for the destined person. Ordinary human cultivators have a 10-month pregnancy, but Xuanji, who has the Purple Palace cultivation, has a 3-year pregnancy. If one reaches the golden core and nascent soul stage, the probability of conceiving offspring will continue to decrease. It is for this reason that Xuanji decided to leave him descendants, otherwise he might not be able to have children after reaching the golden core stage. Because of me, I have already slowed down your cultivation speed. Why should I drag you down further for Faina? Xuanji said. Don't worry about me. I have good aptitude, good comprehension, and fast cultivation speed. The so-called bottleneck of the golden core has little effect on me. On the contrary, you have to speed up a little bit and prove the golden core. We, as a couple, will share immortality. I don't want to sigh at your grave hundreds of years later. Xuanji held her hand, and a trace of determination flashed in his expression. At this time, Xuanji was already at the 9th level of the Purple Palace. It seemed that she was only one step away from the golden core, but the distance was far away. 3 disasters for building foundation, 9 difficulties for Purple Mansion, 12 tribulations for golden elixir. The 12 tribulations here can be regarded as a general term, not a specific one. It refers more to the difficulty of cultivators' advancement, and the probability is constantly decreasing. Xuanji smiled and said, "It's not difficult at all. Not difficult. This is for a genius like my husband, but I'm not one of them." Xuanji smiled bitterly. After the 9th level of Purple Mansion, the true essence is further compressed and converted into mana, which can enter the realm of False Elixir, also known as half-step Golden Elixir. Among 10 cultivators of the 9th level of Purple Mansion, only one can enter the realm of False Elixir. This is the first step. Then, it is a long sedimentation process. The amount of mana must be accumulated for 10 Xuanji, and the quality of mana must reach the level of the first turn of Golden Elixir. 3 minor supernatural powers must be perfected, or 3 major supernatural powers must be achieved in a small way, so as to achieve the perfection of Ki. The soul must gradually become stronger, and can lift 100 pounds of weight, to achieve the perfection of the soul, and the physical body must reach the indestructible level of diamond, comparable to the 2nd grade spiritual weapon, to achieve the perfection of the physical body. This is the second step. To finally control the mana, enter the subtle stage, and improve proficiency. This is the third step. To trigger the catastrophe, overcome the human catastrophe, life catastrophe, heavenly catastrophe, and prove the way to the Golden Elixir. This is the fourth step. This is the step. To achieve the Golden Elixir, compress the true essence into mana, and enter the realm of False Elixir. Then the mana is perfect, the body is perfect, the soul is perfect, and the proficiency is improved. Then you can trigger the catastrophe, overcome the catastrophe, and become the Golden Elixir. And if you can't overcome it, you will turn into ashes. This stage is a great test of the cultivator's qualifications and understanding. If you have good qualifications, a good foundation, and good understanding, you only need to accumulate for 20 years to trigger the catastrophe and prove the way to the Golden Elixir, such as Xuanji. If the foundation is insufficient and the qualifications are a little worse, it takes hundreds of years to accumulate before you can trigger the catastrophe and prove the way to the Golden Elixir. If the qualifications are even worse, you may run out of life and still not be able to enter the False Elixir. Xuanji has entered the 9th level of the Purple Mansion for 10 years, but she is still the 9th level of the Purple Mansion, and has not entered the False Elixir. It can be seen that her understanding is average. Mana power is nothing more than the Tao of one's own integrated into the true essence. The key to integrating one's own Tao into it is to understand the Tao. At this stage, the key is to comprehend one's own original mind, Xuanji said, talking about his understanding of mana power and some experiences with the Golden Elixir. No regrets in the Golden Core. It means that, after condensing the Golden Core, there is no right to regret. If you take the wrong path before the Golden Core, you can still make changes, but after the Golden Core, if you take the wrong path, you can only keep going. Before the Golden Core, the cultivator is greatly affected by the spiritual roots, which determine the cultivator's speed, cultivation potential, etc. But after the Golden Core, the cultivator is affected by the Golden Core, and the grade of the Golden Core determines the cultivator's cultivation speed, potential, and future path. There is no power of choice in life. You cannot choose your birth. You cannot choose what spiritual root attributes you have, but you can choose what kind of Golden Core you condense. At the Golden Core stage, the heavenly spiritual roots and the 5 spiritual roots are at the same starting line. It does not depend on the spiritual root attributes, but on the grade of the Golden Core. In the Golden Core stage, there is no distinction between the early Golden Core, the middle Golden Core, and the late Golden Core. According to the grade, it is divided into low grade Golden Core, medium grade Golden Core, and high grade Golden Core. The higher the grade of the Golden Core, the more mana it can contain, and the stronger its endurance in battle. According to the quality, the Golden Elixir is divided into 1 turn to 9 turns. The mana of the first turn is like cotton. The mana of the third turn is like a wooden stick. The mana of the 7th turn is like steel. The higher the Golden Elixir is tempered, the higher the quality of the mana in the Golden Elixir. A trace of mana from the 7th turn can defeat 10 traces of mana from the 6th turn. If you want to achieve the nascent soul, you must at least condense the Golden Elixir into a top grade 1, and enter the 7th turn or above. Many cultivators will continue to polish their foundation, and improve their potential after their spirit, energy, and spirit are perfect, striving to condense a high grade Golden Elixir. After condensing the golden elixir, it is not impossible to improve the grade of the golden elixir, but the price you pay is greater. At this time, Xuanji asked, what is the grade of Ancestor Jin's golden elixir, and how many turns is it? Xuanji said, she is top notch in terms of qualifications, physique, opportunity, comprehension, and family background. She condensed a top grade golden elixir, and entered the 8th turn. She has the appearance of a spirit transformation, and entered the nascent soul not long ago. Xuanji hummed, a trace of disappointment flashed across her face. Danjiang sect, it seems that there is no nascent soul patriarch? Both Danjiang sect and the other 2 major sects have nascent soul patriarchs, but they rarely take care of things, leaving all kinds of things to the golden core cultivators. After reaching the nascent soul stage, cultivation is the main thing, and it takes an average of 200 to 300 years to upgrade a level, and they rarely pay attention to things outside. What we think is a big deal is just a small matter to them. The waters of Chu are very deep, and Danjiang sect has more than 3 golden core cultivators. The number of golden cores is a bit large, but we just don't know it. Xuanji was talking about some secrets. These secrets were nothing to the golden core patriarchs, and were almost common sense. But to the lower level cultivators, they were shocking secrets. Chapter 249. Xuanji is whipping the corpse again. In the cave, the night pearl emits a bright light. On the bed, Xuanji talked about some secrets and things. Xuanji listened and said leisurely, Ancestor Jin, is he so good to you? Ancestor Jin, you have protected my Lu family. Is it just the protection? Ahem. I want more. As Xuanji said, the battle broke out again. It was not until a long time later that the battle ended. At night, in the cave, Xuanji was drinking tea. The tea is called enlightenment tea. It can be used to assist enlightenment and calm the mind of the cultivator. Below, stood a man in green and a man in black. They were his 2 sons Lu Zion and Lu Fan. After leaving home for 30 years, when he returned again, his 2 sons were already 27 years old. He did not witness the 2 sons' infancy, childhood, and adolescence, but directly witnessed their youth. This feeling was a bit strange, but after being surprised, it turned into calmness. He was silently observing his 2 sons, and thinking about how to be a good father. Whether to play the role of a loving father or a strict father, the role playing is a bit difficult. Faina, please step aside first. I want to talk to your brother, Xuanji said. Yes. Lu Fan nodded, and bowed and left. Only the father and son were left in the cave. Zaina, how have you been these years? Xuanji asked. Father, everything is fine. Lu Zion said stiffly. Do you have a girl you like? Xuanji asked. No. Lu Zion said, I'm busy with the Great Dao, and have no time for love between men and women. Cultivation is important, but love between men and women cannot be neglected. Xuanji said, if there is a girl you like, you can bring her here, and let me and my mother check it out. I understand, my child. Lu Zion nodded. Tell me about your life these years. Tell me about the little things. Xuanji asked. When I was young, my mother was usually busy with family affairs and improving my cultivation. It was mainly Aunt Wachin who took care of us, and the elder also took care of us. When I was 6 years old, I was diagnosed with a natural spiritual root, which was a fire spiritual root. But under my mother's instructions, I publicized that I had 2 spiritual roots, fire and earth. Then, I began a 3-year enlightenment career. The elder personally taught us and led us to live in the mortal world for 3 years. The candied haws were delicious, and I still want to eat them now. When I was 9 years old, I became a first level key refining and began to practice. At the same time, I completed the family's tasks and began to take care of the family's spiritual fields. I farmed for 20 consecutive years and became familiar with bayang rice and the properties of spiritual medicines. Lu Zion talked about his childhood and some things. The Lu family was established for about 1,000 years. They already had familiar routines on how to cultivate offspring, how to prevent offspring from becoming arrogant, how to make family cultivators qualified, how to adapt to the cruel environment of cultivating immortals, and how to cultivate the character of cultivators. Lu Zion is the first natural spiritual root in the family. For him, He still follows the family rules, and there is no special treatment, just a little more resources. 3 years of basic education, cultivate literacy, and cultivate the 3 views. He started farming again, managing 200 acres of spiritual fields, identifying various herbs, medicinal materials, etc., and doing everything according to the rules. In the middle, he was arranged to work as a waiter in some shops in the market for 5 years, constantly improving his experience and knowledge. He didn't ask him to be knowledgeable and experienced, but he also wanted to avoid him from becoming a naive person who was sold and still counting money. Over the years, Xuanji and the elders have suppressed Lu Xian's breakthrough. In their plan, Lu Xian can achieve foundation building at the age of 40, achieve purple mansion at the age of 100, and prove the golden elixir at the age of 200. There is no need to be too fast, the foundation is the main thing. Xiana, you are not only a natural spiritual root, but also inherited your father's pure Yang Dao body. You have a very good aptitude, and only your aunt Yifixu can compare with you. Lu Xuanji said with a smile. Aunt, is she really that strong? Lu Xian asked curiously. He has an aunt named Yifixu, who seems to have disappeared mysteriously. She has good qualifications. Lu Xuanji said. Father is going to tell a story here. There is an unparalleled strong man in the demon clan, with the blood of the phoenix, named the Immortal Emperor, who is almost going to become an immortal. He has a son named the Son of Heaven. Before ascending to heaven, the Immortal Emperor gave the Son of Heaven 2 choices. One is to have the 8 generals to protect the way, the immortal Taoist, not the Queen of Heaven, the Phoenix immortal medicine, the ancient tea leaves for enlightenment, and various resources. The other is to take the heavenly sword, smash the ancient medicine, resources, and rely on a heavenly sword, to kill a world of Kyan Lang Lang. Xiana, if you were the Son of Heaven, what would you choose? Poor Son of Heaven was taken out by Lu Xuanji and whipped directly. Lu Xian said, I choose the second one. I will fight my way out of this world with my heavenly sword. Lu Xuanji asked, do you really choose this? Really? You can choose this way, which means you have learned hypocrisy and double standards, which is pretty good. Lu Xuanji said, children are simple-minded, and want whatever they want. Only adults are hypocritical and double standard. They say they only love one person, but they turn around and flirt with a female cultivator. You say that I, the Lord God King, represent justice, but in fact, I do more evil than anyone else. If I were the son of the Heavenly Emperor, I would agree to take the second path, but when my father left, I would immediately take back the elixir and treasure, and then go to trick the 8 generals into being loyal to me. Children can only make a choice, and they can only choose one of the 2 options. But when they grow up, they will understand and want them all. Xiana, do you understand? Lu Xian said confusedly, I understand. Lu Xuanji asked, if you make another choice, which one would you choose? Lu Xian said, child, still choose the second one. Then, you will be beaten to death. Lu Xuanji sneered. The Prince of Heaven chose the first one, but later Wu Shi was born and suppressed everything. The immortal Taoist was suppressed, and the immortal Queen of Heaven fled with the 8 generals, taking away most of the resources. In the end, the Prince of Heaven was only left with a few shrimp soldiers and generals, with scarce resources, and no imperial soldiers. But this Prince of Heaven was super brave. He challenged the human race alone, and fought Yihei alone. He wanted to rely on a heavenly sword, to kill his way out, and take the second path. As a result, he was besieged by Yihei, Jizi, Black Dog, the Holy Prince and others. They had no martial ethics, so the Prince of Heaven was beaten to death. Do you still have to make 2 choices? Father said that the backstage is very important. Yi Xian realized. Yes. If you wander around without a backer, you will be beaten to death. Yihei said that the state of mind of the Prince of Heaven is not good enough. In fact, the state of mind, such as the invincible heart of Tao, is the least valuable. As long as you lose a few more times and experience more things, you can improve your state of mind. As long as you survive, you can cultivate an invincible heart of Tao. If the Prince of Heaven had a strong backer and a quasi-emperor god saved him at that time, after experiencing this ordeal, his state of mind would definitely be improved, and he would become a big enemy on Yihei's road to success in the future. It's a pity that he didn't have a strong backer, so if he lost, he would die, and he would have no future. Similarly, the golden girl was defeated by Yi Hei, but because of her strong backer, she was defeated but not dead, and finally became a quasi-emperor. Lu Xuanji said, "Why did your aunt, Yi Fixu, leave the Lu family?" Because she was too talented. At that time, the Lu family had no big backer. In order to avoid bringing disaster to the Lu family, she had to leave. As for you, you have a natural spiritual root and a pure Yang Dao body, so your talent is even stronger, but if you don't have a backer, it will be very dangerous. Maybe one day, a certain giant and ancestor will find out something unusual, and take over your body, or refine you into a puppet. Fortunately, the Jin ancestor entered the nascent soul stage not long ago, and his deterrent power increased. He can protect you from growing to the giant stage, and avoid some fatal disasters. Chapter 252 Choices. In the cave, the father and son were talking. Lu Xuanji was talking about a cold reality and the cruelty of the world. Yi Xian was unconvinced and said, "Father, is it because of the backing that you can get to where you are now?" "Yes." Lu Xuanji said, "In the early stage of cultivation, the great elder was my backing. Later, when I became a Taoist couple with your mother, the Yi family was my backing. Later, Ancestor Jin valued me, and Ancestor Jin was also my backing. These backings have withstood too many storms for me, so that I can grow up. Otherwise, I would have been killed by force majeure. Backing cannot guarantee that a cultivator will become a strong man, but it can withstand some powerful damage. At least with the protection of Ancestor Jin, those giant and cultivators will not bully the weak for the sake of Ancestor Jin. Those purple mansion cultivators, if they want to kill me, they have to find excuses and reasons, and try to get rid of suspicion. These are enough, do you understand?" Yi Xian nodded and said, "Child, I understand. Go down and call your brother." Lu Xuanji said, "My son, I got it." Yi Xian nodded, and bowed to leave. Lu Xuanji nodded. The beating of his son was over. This son is very smart. Not only is he smart, he is also gifted, talented, and has a special physique. This also makes him feel proud and arrogant. His humble appearance just now was all disguised. He is proud in his bones and looks down on others. This is also the problem of geniuses. God is the eldest, I'm the second, and as for his father, he is just a cultivator with 3 spiritual roots. He looks down on his father. So, Lu Xuanji began to beat the son, first using Yi Fixu to beat his son, then, he used the example of the emperor's son to beat his son, finally, he used the importance of the background to beat his son. What about the fire element spiritual root, and what about the pure Yang Taoist body? A genius who has not grown up is not as useful as a foundation building cultivator. With the help of beating, he wants to let his son understand that genius is valuable and genius is also worthless. Whether he really understood, or just pretended to understand, it all depends on his luck. Just a moment later, Lu Fan walked in. "Greetings, father." Lu Fan stepped forward and said. Lu Xuanji was silent, looking at his son. The eldest son, Lu Xian, was a proud person, arrogant in doing things, and looked down on others. Lu Fan had a strong inferiority complex, lowered his head and spoke without the courage to speak. In this regard, he was not as good as Xiao Yan. After all, Xiao Yan was once a genius, with good qualifications and rapid progress in his youth. Even though he fell later, and became a fallen genius, he had been glorious after all, and he also fantasized about his qualifications being restored again. He had an unyielding idea, always thinking that 30 years in the east 30 years in the west, don't bully the poor young. But Lu Fan has 5 spiritual roots, and is also called a waste spiritual root. The family cultivators did not call him a waste. But without comparison, there is no harm. Both his parents are great cultivators of the purple mansion, with the golden elixir insight. His elder brother has a natural spiritual root and a bright future. As for him, he only has 5 spiritual roots, and he has only reached the 5th level of key refining after a lifetime of hard work, with no future at all. "Faina, what is your ideal?" Lu Xuanji asked. "My son, I only have 5 spiritual roots, and I don't have any ideals. I just want to marry more wives and concubines, and give birth to more offspring for the family." Lu Fan smiled. He is only 27 years old, but he has 3 wives and 5 sons. Obviously, his mother has given up hope on him. Since he can't become a strong man, he should marry more wives and concubines, give birth to more offspring, and contribute more to the family. His mother has promised him to train him to be a foundation building cultivator, which has surpassed many people. And in order to train a 5 spiritual root cultivator to a foundation building cultivator, the various resources consumed can train 10 foundation building cultivators, and many times the gains are not worth the losses. It is because he is a son that his mother is willing to spend a lot of resources. Final Xuanji thought, conceiving certain words and certain storylines. How about telling the story of Yehedi? Telling the story of a young man who, despite his ancient waste body, defied the heavens to prove his truth, and created a legend. Not appropriate. The Rise of Emperor Yishan, that is a life of cheating, with a backstage to cultivate immortality. How about telling the story of a man called Ninglao? Telling a story that started in the Rain Immortal realm. A story of my life is like a butterfly that cuts through reincarnation. Telling the story of if I hold the devil, there will be no immortals in the world. If I hold the sky, there will be no demons in the world. Not appropriate. Not appropriate. Ninglao has a bigger backstage. At the beginning, he had Han Yuanji as his backstage, and in the 4 days, he had a quasi-saint, and the ancient Emperor Luangu as his backstage. Later, he had the 2 Yin Saint and the Purple Dao Fairy Emperor as his backstage. Even in the future, when he reaches the real world, there may be 7 or 8 fairy emperors as his backstage. Feina, come here, let me check your body, Lu Xuanji said. Yes. Lu Fan stepped forward and approached his father. His divine thoughts were perceiving, and a trace of true essence entered his body, constantly analyzing it, trying to detect the special features of this son. No special physique, no inheritance of his pure Yang Dao body. Checking the spiritual roots again. The spiritual roots are mixed. It is 5 spiritual roots. Activating the secret technique, he began to see his son's luck. His son's luck is red, just a little stronger than ordinary cultivators, without great luck. Up and down, checking for a long time. 5 spiritual roots qualifications, no special physique, and average luck. Here is a volume of exercises, take a look. Lu Xuanji took out a volume of exercises and began to test his son's comprehension. After about a moment, he was disappointed. Lu Fan's comprehension is average, just the level of ordinary people. Checking again, trying to find out his shining points and his excellence, but there is none at all. The waste flow, it seems to be talking about waste, but in essence, there is the possibility of turning waste into treasure. As long as the rust on it is brushed off, the treasure side can be revealed. But Lu Fan is really a waste. The path of a cultivator mainly includes spiritual roots, physique, luck, comprehension, etc., and many factors are superimposed together. But Lu Fan is good, with 5 spiritual roots, no special physique, average luck, and average comprehension. This is no longer a loser start, but a loser in itself. Feina, now you have 2 choices. Lu Xuanji said. First, you continue, marry a wife and concubine, have many children, and contribute to the family. This kind of life is easy and carefree. Second, I will improve your spiritual roots, enhance your qualifications and comprehension, and let you change your destiny. But if you want to go against the destiny of the 5 spiritual roots, you need to pay a huge price and sacrifice, and you will have a hard life. 2 choices. 2 lives, different destinies. Now you can make a choice. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.